Upstate.
68 to 61. Clemson takes it, and guess what? In the last 2 months, in the last month or so, month and a half, Clemson has beaten South Carolina in two different sports. I know that might not sit well with a lot of the Gamecock fans in the audience today, but that's the reality. A 68-61 win for Clemson last night in a game played in Little John Coliseum. Clemson moves to 9-3 overall and is undefeated at home, 7-0, while South Carolina falls to 7-4 on the season. We're going to dive into it. What happened last night? How could we make this game better and more intriguing for both Clemson and South Carolina fans? Wire to wire. He's Diesel Bryson. So good to be with you on this edition of the show. Diesel is live on location at Ingles Markets near you. And Diesel, you are in the big city of
Easley, South Carolina, sitting at the 410 Pelzer Highway location, right inside the front door. Easy to find. Take a right turn, and we're there. Just search for the guy yelling into a microphone.
Is it true that it took you 2 hours to get there?
Yeah, I had to walk part of it. I think I had to pick up my Jeep and carry it across a river. It was weird, man. I got down into Easley, kind of in the back roads that it brings me all the time, and then my GPS just gave me that spinning wheel like, I don't know, man. I don't know how to get you there. It must have recalculated 3 or 4 times.
No doubt. Well, guess what? It happens when you go to Easley. So if you want to see Diesel, if you want an Eagles gift card, be sure to stop by and check him out. He is there until 7 o'clock tonight. I'm back in the Ingles Market Studios. But a big win for Clemson last night, Diesel. They did not cover the 12.5-point spread that you and I initially talked about. I thought that was a lot of points. It ended up being a little too much in terms of Clemson covering the spread last night. But this one kind of went how we thought it would. Clemson outscored South Carolina in the first half, 34-27, 34-34 in the second half, a 7-point win. Clemson did not play its best game last night, Diesel, but South Carolina, when I say this one turned out the way we thought it would, South Carolina didn't do much to knock our socks off last night, and I think that's a big problem for this 2025 South Carolina team.
No, a lot of things are true and correct in what you said there. Clemson consistently underperformed in both quarters, or both halves, 34 points in both halves, which is wild, right? That's not something we've seen from these Clemson Tigers all season, having consistent scoring in the first and the second half. You just wish that was more like 38 or 40 points, especially against a South Carolina team that has struggled to really slow anybody with a pulse down this season. This South Carolina team has given up a lot of points, and Clemson held well below, I think, what they should have been and where they would like to have been against this Gamecocks defense.
I'll say this. The first thing I want to start with, Diesel, is what Meechie Johnson did, or what Meechie Johnson didn't do last night. I thought, and I had to watch this game on DVR when I got home. I had to record it. Do we still call it DVR? Do we still call it? Do we tape TiVo?
It's TiVo.
TiVo, whatever it is now, right? With YouTube TV. I had to watch it when I got home last night. Number one takeaway for me, Diesel, was, and yes, it was only a 7-point game, but I thought Clemson's defense on Meechie Johnson last night was terrific. That's number one. That's my number one takeaway. You're talking about Meechie Johnson, who played 35 minutes last night. 35 minutes. And Clemson held Meechie Johnson to 2 of 9 from the field, 0 for 4 from three-point land. And Diesel, Meechie Johnson finished with 8 points on the night. South Carolina goes as Meechie Johnson goes. And when I looked at the box score before I went back and watched the game, I said, oh, I don't even have to watch it. I did watch it. But I said, oh, I don't have to watch it. I know Clemson's defense was exceptional. And if Meechie Johnson can't get going, the problem is you're looking at the box score. Who else does South Carolina have to rely on? That's the issue.
Yeah, nobody really stepped up in this game and blew me away. You know, and I'm talking about players on both sides. I'm talking about the fans inside the arena. It was a pretty lackluster environment. Look, I know that Clemson is the students are finishing up on their finals and they're wrapping up the semester, but come on, it's in-state. It's the biggest rivalry in the state of South Carolina. It's not like these two schools are separated by like 6 hours. They're just up and down the road from one another, and there's a ton of South Carolina fans living in our area. There's a ton of Clemson fans living in our area, a ton of alumni. The environment inside Little John just lackluster last night, and I think that kind of spilled out onto both of these teams. None of Clemson's starters finished in double-digit scoring. What is that? You're not going to win a lot of basketball games, especially when you get into conference play, when your best starter puts up 9 points.
No, and you're right on that. I do want to get into, in just a few minutes, Diesel, what you touched on there, the overall aspect on the game itself, how to improve the game, because I do think, kind of like you said, kind of to your point there, the game, the environment, the atmosphere, we talked about it yesterday with Jack Veltri, Diesel, everything around the game could be a little better, but I'll say this. You talked about the starters last night. It was not these starters for Clemson who carried this team, right? Go look at what happened last night. Ace Buckner, 19 points, 7 rebounds. Diesel, he led all scorers. He provided really good interior scoring last night, really good physicality off the bench. From what I watched, when you can go to a guy like Ace Buckner and maybe your shots aren't falling, maybe you're not having the best offensive night, and you can have that consistent down-low interior scoring like Ace Buckner did last night with 19 points, that is kind of like the settling card, if you will. That's the ultimate equalizer. Yes, obviously, South Carolina, if they would have started hitting some shots, maybe things would have changed. But I thought what he did down low was really important. And you look at what Carter Welling did, 16 points, 4 rebounds, a very reliable secondary scorer for the Tigers last night. And to your point, it was not the Clemson starting 5 that stole the show. It was the bench impact last night for Brad Brunell that got that game won, or that won that game, if you will. Buckner and Welling combined for 35 bench points. Clemson's depth was a major advantage throughout the game. South Carolina simply couldn't match the depth. And I think if you're Clemson, looking at it on both sides, Diesel, you like the depth because, as you get into conference play, you're going to have some consistent depth, right, in ACC play. But on the flip side, when you talk about depth for South Carolina, where was their depth last night? Well, in fact, you talk about 2 guys, Kobe Knox and Mike, who had 13 points last night. Outside of that, Diesel, there was no depth. So I think that's a major concern for the Gamecocks.
Sheriff Jumps is how they were pronouncing it last night. Yeah. I'll just call him Sheriff. How about that? Mike Sheriff.
Sheriff.
That's what he should be, right? If they can turn Shefflin into the chef, why not turn Sheriff Jumps into Sheriff? Sheriff Mike. I like it.
I like that.
You're right, though. This Clemson team has shown the ability throughout their season to score a lot of points. You look at against quality opponents too. They put up, 90 something odd points against Georgia. They put up 84 points against Alabama. I don't know what's happened the last 2 games. I'm talking about the BYU game where they were held to 64. The Mercer game, we were told, it's because they had to travel late back to campus and they were tired, and that's just why they didn't play very good against Mercer. Well, you had a couple more days to rest up after that, and you come out and you score 68 points against your biggest rival. They've got to figure something out, but you're right. It is comforting to know that if your starters are not scoring, you can get 2 or 3 guys off the bench that can give you quality minutes. Look at the breakdown of minutes in this game. They had a couple of guys off the bench that put up a lot of minutes for the Clemson Tigers, and they're going to need that when they get deep into ACC play. A lot of these coaches, they're still figuring things out at this point, figuring out rotations, figuring out best combinations, and figuring out who can give them 15 minutes a game, who gets worn out at that 20 minutes a game, and who can give them 30 or more.
Last few notes, last few looks, Diesel, at some stats, and then I want to ask a big picture question. Clemson last night shot close to 50% from the floor, consistently finished at the rim, right? We talked about that interior scoring a few minutes ago. South Carolina struggled to shoot the basketball last night. They have a major issue in three-point range. South Carolina was 4 of 26 from 3, Diesel. That's 15%. That's not going to get it done. Clemson basically last night just packed the paint, and dared South Carolina to shoot from deep. Mm-hmm. They tried. It didn't happen. And then you add on to that, South Carolina turned the basketball over 14 times. Clemson converted those into 16 points off of those turnovers. Turnovers disrupted South Carolina's offense, the flow, the rhythm, especially in the first half, as you saw. They got a little bit of that momentum back, Diesel, in the second half, but it was Clemson who basically jumped out to an early lead, maintained that steady lead, and said, hey, we're going to pack this thing in down low, and we're going to make you beat us from the perimeter. South Carolina couldn't do that. They did have a late push, right, cutting it at 65-59 with under a minute to play. But Clemson's composure, I thought, was big, especially at the free throw line. We talked about the bench production, but I want to ask a big picture question, Diesel, to you and the fans listening today in the upstate, Clemson fans and South Carolina fans. Watching that game last night, does either fan base feel good about this season? Simply put. Just honest question. Yes or no? 844-326-3663. I'm asking that, Diesel. I know you laugh, like kind of being funny, but kind of wanting to know the truth. Does either fan base feel good about this year's basketball season?
Well, South Carolina definitely doesn't, and I've seen a couple of our Tolos already commenting on the stream, saying that this season is going to be another really tough one. Some people saying that maybe this is going to be the last year for Lamont Paris in South Carolina and Columbia. That would be tough, man. He came in with so much fanfare and hadn't been able to turn it around. But think about the fact last year, Cole, and look, somebody's got to finish below 500. Not everybody can go out and win at that clip. But last year, 14 out of 16 SEC teams made the NCAA tournament. South Carolina and LSU were the two that did not make the tournament. And it doesn't appear yet to this point that they are going to be another one of those teams that can do it. I mean, they would have to have been elite to this point in their out of conference play to support the fact that they're going to take some L's when SEC plays comes around. And at this point, it's looking like they're going to take a lot of L's when SEC play comes around. On the flip side of that, with Clemson, Kevin Holmes is dead on. He says bubble team, looking like an NIT season for Clemson this year. And, hey, I mean, I guess for some Clemson fans, that's good enough. Brad Brownell gets you into the tournament every now and again, and NIT most seasons. I guess that's good enough. But, I mean, hey, Clemson had their opportunity. They paid the guy. They're giving him all kinds of money when it comes to the transfer portal. Maybe not as much money as John Shire is getting up there at Duke. Maybe not as much money as Hubert Davis is getting at Chapel Hill. But he's getting money to go out there and be strategic and bring in a couple of guys every single year. They've shown that they can produce for him, but it's just not adding up to enough once they get into ACC play. And this conference looks like it's going to be somewhat improved this year. Maybe not a total rebound back to the old days where we expect the ACC to be that conference that gets 10 teams in the NCAA tournament. But Clemson, I think they're going to take some lumps too. I think they're probably going to be one of those teams that wins maybe 2 out of 3 conference games.
Yeah, I could see it. For sure, Diesel. And by the way, I want to get back to JD's comments in just a few minutes about the environment because I do have a comment on that. But I want to look at something. 2 things real quick. You know what's interesting? You know how in football we just got done having the conversation, well, the home team, they're not winning. Listen to this in basketball. Clemson won last night at Clemson. Last year, South Carolina won at South Carolina. In 2023, Diesel, Clemson won at Clemson. In 2022, South Carolina won at South Carolina in Columbia. In 2021, Clemson won in Clemson. The last time a home team didn't win, December 15th, 2019, when South Carolina beat Clemson in Clemson 67-54. So total opposite of football here. Home court has, for whatever reason, mattered more in basketball. Isn't that wild?
It's crazy, right? And
it really is.
I know you. I don't know if you want to get to your question that you had early to start this thing. We hadn't kind of come full circle on this conversation where you wanted to go with it. But a question you have written down is how do you juice this rivalry? How do you make it a bigger deal? Because we got a lot of Tolos saying, well, the students just weren't there. A lot of them were home for finals. First of all, they gotta not schedule this game when students are out of session. That might have been one of the most idiotic scheduling decisions anybody's made in a long time. You play this game when students are on campus. play it right before finals start or during finals? Give them a break for a day during finals for this matchup, Cole.
Diesel, I do want to get to that.
Okay.
Before I get to it, one quick note, one more wild note, and I'm fact-checking myself just to make sure I'm saying this right. In the year 2025, calendar year, okay? And Tolos, please correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm making sure that I'm seeing and saying this right, Diesel. In the calendar year 2025, Clemson has only lost one time at home.
Wow.
Clemson has only lost one time at home in the calendar year 2025. If you go back to last season in January, Diesel, guess what? They lost in Louisville, okay? In February the 4th, they lost in triple overtime to Georgia Tech at home. To my knowledge, I'm sitting here looking. They have not lost at home. They've only lost one home game in the entire 2025 calendar year. That's two different seasons. The loss this year was in Washington, D.C. They had a loss in Tuscaloosa, and they had a loss in New York. Clemson's like 12-1, 15-1, something like that. Only one loss for Brad Brunell in the calendar year 2025 at home. That's pretty impressive, right?
Yeah, that's one of those stats that even when seasons don't come to the fruition that you want them to, that's one of those stats that keep getting you extended, that keep getting you, a little extra love and leeway from the fan base.
Okay, so now to your point, to your question, then we'll get to the text line. A lot coming in at 844-326-3663. Look, you and I talked about it yesterday with Jack. I think there's a million different ways to skin the cat here, but I think there's only one solution. JB brought it up. Right now, students aren't on campus. There's one solution to fixing this in terms of making it the absolute best possible situation, Diesel, for Clemson, South Carolina basketball. We said it yesterday. I've said it a million times. Very simple fix. Put it the night before the football game, period. Be done with it. Whoever hosts the football game, put the basketball game in that city the night before, Friday night basketball, and then you have the Saturday football game. That's the only way, because when the students have left campus, you're going to ask them to come back to campus for a sport they don't really care about or not? I mean,
I used to.
Solution.
I used to. That was JB's excuse. I would say that with all due respect, JB, but cars don't work. You can't drive back to campus to watch your team face its biggest rival. Come on, I used to do that all the time. I lived 45 minutes to an hour away from Boone. I was driving up there every single game when it was during Thanksgiving break, when it was during the playoff runs and finals were over. I was driving back. That's not an excuse, man. If you want it bad enough, you'll go. If it means enough to you, you'll go back.
Okay, Diesel, from a marketing standpoint, why do it?
Why do what?
Why do it? Why
play the game?
When kids are off campus?
Oh, I agree that it's a terrible decision to do it when kids are off campus.
You can't just say, drive back. Kids live in Texas, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, New York, Cincinnati, Ohio, everywhere. You can't just say, hey, kids, drive back. It's Clemson's fault. It's South Carolina's fault for not making this game not what it could be. Imagine, Diesel, if it were the night before the football game. Can you imagine?
That's true. I like your idea a lot. Put it in a time that makes it as easy as possible for as many fans as possible to be in town and to be available. Also, playing it on a Tuesday night, another poor decision, right? Schedule it on a Friday night. Even if it's not in front of the football game, schedule it on a Friday night. Schedule it on a Saturday so that as many people can get there as possible. And Cole, I think they should play twice a year every year. Home and home. I know that's unprecedented in basketball, and you don't do that in out of conference. Why not? Why not?
I hate that.
Does it do you more good to schedule Mercer instead of playing South Carolina twice?
Right. No, I don't hate that idea. I'm not opposed to that one bit. I just think having it where the fans are already there, man, that would be quite the attraction. On the text line, texter from the 843 says, no, Gamecocks will live and die by the 3. Another texter from the 809 Diesel says, Duke spends $8 to $10 million in NIL basketball until Clemson and other ACC teams get to that level, it's an exercise in futility. USC spins around 3. Both teams will continue to underperform, and they will always be the underdog, says a texter. So a lot of good points there. Going to grab this phone call real quick, Diesel, before we get to that. And while I grab the phone call, do you have any gift cards today?
We do, as a matter of fact. I've got a couple of them right here. There's a few more sitting right over here off camera. We have gift cards to give away. All you have to do is walk up to me and say, Tolo, give me one of those gift cards, and I'll hook you up, man. Knock a couple of dollars, whether you're going over here to the deli, grabbing yourself a deli sandwich. I mean, heck, I think that even pays for an entire rotisserie chicken. You can get a whole chicken just for coming up and saying Tolo.
I love those chickens, by the way.
They're so good.
I eat them.
And they got multiple flavors, too, so you don't get tired. You get to rotate them around a little bit.
They're so good. I like watching them just spin on those, whatever they're called. What are they called?
Spit, the rotisserie.
Rotisserie.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know. I love it. Alan wants to weigh in on the conversation. What's up, Alan?
Yeah, so my problem with your thought, Cole, is that both schools have their traditions on Friday night before the high school, before the football game, and football is still king, and I think they'll still go burn the chicken or burn the tiger.
You can't do that on Thursday night?
I'm just saying, I know traditions are there, and that's probably going to weigh heavy, and that you won't get much more participation.
But don't you think, Alan, don't you think it'd be really unique if it was the night before?
There's reasons why I like that, Cole. I'm just scared. So, yes.
Yeah.
Hey,
appreciate the phone call.
Hey, why don't we
443-263?
Why don't we just play them on the same day? You know, always schedule the football game for a noon kickoff. Make that the traditional time. It is noon every season, no matter what. And then you play a night basketball game. You don't even have to get out of your parking spot. You could just walk up. You could just walk up the hill if you're at Clemson. I don't know where Colonial Life is in relation to Williams-Brice, but for basketball at Clemson, you just walk across the field and you're there.
Heck, just play them in the same venue, right? Just turn the football field right into a basketball
I like
court.
it.
Nobody has you. How about that? You like that?
Good stuff. Good stuff. It's Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. We got all kinds of prizes to give away here on the table. Whatever you're looking for, sunglasses, razor blades. How about these little folding miniature Frisbees? We got those as well, plus a couple of movies, Mission Impossible up for grabs. Just come by and say what's up, and we'll hook you up with something fun here on location at 410 Pelzer Highway in Easley at the Ingalls Markets location. Cole, we hinted at this a little bit yesterday, I think we got to this, but the ACC, along with the SEC, are going to a 9-game mandatory conference schedule, but they have failed to stick the landing on even that. It's very simple. Play 9 conference games, and they somehow screwed that up in their first opportunity. We'll talk about it next. on the Fan Upstate. Cole, I think that 25 years from now, 50 years from now, people will look back on this era of college football and say, kind of nothing really turned out the way we thought it would. Like everybody is engaged in as many bad ideas as they can possibly engage in. None of them have turned out to be positives for their conference, yet everybody continues to do them anyway. What am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about growing conferences too big, past that 12 number, past that 10 number, whatever number it is you like for how big a conference should be. It's going away from divisions, which now a lot of people are figuring out. You're one of them, Cole. I heard you say the other day that, man, conferences with divisions are so much better off than conferences without divisions, and the Sun Belt's the only one that still has them, by the way. And now every conference seems to be just dead set on making this mistake that I consider to be a mistake of going to a 9-game conference schedule mandatory. The Big Ten is there. The Big 12 is there. They've been there for a while. And now the SEC and the ACC are doing the same things. And I don't think there's any way to look at it, Cole, where it actually ends up being a good thing for the conferences. Coaches in the SEC are mad that they got to play one more really tough opponent. They don't get to schedule another cupcake or an ACC team out of conference. And ACC teams, they get the benefit of playing a team that's going to be rated in the bottom half of college football. So it's really not going to help them all that much when it comes to the end of the season. It comes to rankings. Ooh, great! You beat up on Syracuse this year. Isn't it so good that you got to beat up on Syracuse instead of beating up on somebody else? But the ACC, Cole, is trying to launch this new 9-game schedule, and they have fumbled the football in a big way. Some teams are going to be playing 9 conference games this year. Some teams are not. And it's pretty simple in my mind. 9 games is 9 games. You either go to it or you don't, but half the conference is not going to have to do that this year.
Well, I think, Diesel, you have to set the table like you do at Christmas time and Thanksgiving with your ham or dry turkey like Clark and the family did, whatever it looks like, right? You have to set the table with this conversation, in my opinion, by saying, look, when you're talking about expansion of conferences, adding another conference game, you said it. Even the coaches of the conferences don't like it. Well, that takes me back. Let's set the table by saying this. When you talk about conference expansion, Diesel, Tolos, it's the same premise as college football playoff expansion. Nothing's different. It's all the same. What I mean is it's all about money, and it's nothing about you. It's nothing about the college football fan. It's nothing about the college football coach. It's nothing about the college football player. They don't benefit from it. So all I'm saying is let's set the table to this conversation by saying we've said it a million times on this show, more. The people, Diesel, who are making these decisions, guess what? We have to remember, conference expansion's not because we as fans want more games. Conference expansion is not because Kirby Smart and the coaches want more games. We just said it. They hate it. But again, it goes back to the table that we just said. It's the exact same as the CFP. It's never been about us. It's only about making one more dollar.
Yeah, when you're planning to make a major change to a conference, and adjusting the number of conference games you play is a major change, even though it does sound simple. I think you need to spend a little more time, and this is where the ACC has failed. They need to spend a little bit more time planning it out, thinking about possibilities, contingencies, and what could go wrong before they implement a new strategy, Cole, because going into the 2026 season, the ACC will be on its 4th different scheduling model in 4 years, which tells me they didn't spend the time to think about what they were doing before they actually did it. So where we're going with all of this, Cole, is to say that in this first year of 9-game slates for ACC teams, about half of the conference will play 9 games against conference foes, and the other half will not. Clemson, Georgia Tech, Florida State, North Carolina, Boston College, those teams will play just 8 conference games, and the rest will play 9 conference games. So you had all this time to think about it, and you still screw it up. Oh, on top of that, Cole, because they have an odd number of schools, still one team is going to play just 8 conference games every year. It's a very simple prospect. Either boot somebody out, I vote Boston College, or expand, get one more, go to 18, and quit messing around with, 16 of our teams play 9, one of them only plays 8. It's weird and it's embarrassing.
So I'm with you. What you're telling me is we opened this can of worms without really having a good plan in place.
Thank you.
And you explained to me, I don't know, how can a conference, when we talk about, oh my gosh, talk about the college football playoff conversation with teams being left out, the conversations with an S, plural, Diesel, that you, I, and fans have had for the past 2 weeks now of fairness, right? Fairness. How is it fair? You tell me, how is it fair? I'm asking a legitimate, how is it fair that one team in the conference didn't play it? You're not playing the same amount of games?
Yeah, and think about the fairness that some teams are getting Notre Dame. That's a whole other element to this that makes it more difficult. It's like they've done everything possible wrong to get to this point, and now they're just trying to figure out how to put Band-Aids. They're little Dutch boys sticking their finger in the dam trying to fix all these problems because they can't just come to some form of uniformity with the number of teams that they have in their conference, with the number of teams that are full members versus partial members who get special treatment, who some of them play SEC teams out of conference every year, some of them don't. I mean, I would say it would probably be more fair for Clemson to not have to play a 9-game schedule every year because they got to face South Carolina, or vice versa, say the same thing about Georgia Tech or Florida State, who have SEC opponents that they face every year, Kentucky as well.
It feels like, I don't know if you tell me, I'm sitting here thinking in my head, it feels kind of like the conference right now feels like an old mall, we have a lot of these old malls in the upstate, right?
Yeah.
Some of them doing well in Spartan, in Greenville, the one in Spartanburg, not so much. Like some of the stores are kind of empty, flickering lights, but there's still a few stores that are like anchoring it down, I guess. I think of Westgate Mall in Spartanburg, Diesel.
Yeah.
There's still a few stores that are anchoring it down and keeping the lights open. And, the ACC kind of feels like an old mall right now because, most of the conference sucks. And then you have a couple of stores that are holding it down. It also reminds me of a group project back in high school, where you've got like half the group who's out in the parking lot doing things they shouldn't be. They've ghosted you. The deadline's changed like 9 times already. Clemson and Florida State have turned in everything like on semi-time, but for whatever reason, everybody's wondering why we're in the same pattern. I'll tell you this, it's something that I didn't think we'd ever experience in college football when you talk about the unstable conference that the ACC is.
Yeah, it's a complete and utter mess. Everything they've done over the past decade and a half to grow this conference by gobbling up half the Big East, most of those teams being smaller private schools without any real fan bases. I mean, it's like almost like when this conference finally dies, Cole, we'll be doing an autopsy and listing all of the terrible decisions they've made along the way that got them to this point. And we'll be talking about how obvious every single one of them has been. You cannot give up the concessions to Notre Dame that you've given up to Notre Dame. As a matter of fact, we had a texter hit us up earlier and said, make Notre Dame, I think he means make Notre Dame join the ACC. You can't make them do it, okay? You can't force them to join the conference. They've tried. ACC has tried. Big Ten has tried. Everybody, the way to the internet, telling them, hey, guys, you need to jump into a conference. And Notre Dame says, no, we don't. Not when the ACC will give us these kind of concessions. Not when the college football playoff will give us these kind of concessions. Why would they have to? Why would they want to?
And I'll say this, kind of to tag along with that point, Diesel, I am against Notre Dame as much as anybody, just in terms of their snobbiness and for whatever reason, the elitism that they think they have, right? Even though they haven't been relevant in, my lifetime or longer. But I kind of understand. Kind of going off of what you said, I kind of get it. I do, because, yes, I think they should join a conference. But on the flip side, you just said it. Why would they? I mean, if you're in that position, Diesel, if you're the Notre Dame athletic director, are you going to join the ACC right now? So, like, we all want them to, but at the same time, I don't know if I can blame them for not doing it.
No, it's just a weird transition. And, again, it feels like it should be easy, but every decision they've made to this point has been awkward and unconventional and has left us all scratching our heads. But if you're wondering why that is next year, why some teams are playing the 9-game slate, some teams are not playing the 9-game slate, and one team every year will not play a 9-game slate no matter what until they grow to 18 or shrink to 16 or whatever, it's because, incompetence. Incompetence all over the place in the ACC offices. We're live here at Ingles Markets at 410 Pelzer Highway. Got your chance to score some Ingles gift cards. Come on by. I think Cornchip said he's in the area. He's going to stop by a little bit later on and grab one of these gift cards, and we want to see you here as well. And don't forget, coming up, Cole, in just 20 minutes, it's time for Upset Picks.
Let's go. And is it true? The rumors have been swirling that this is the final one.
It is the very last one. This is your last opportunity to score points. And Cole, I did like the idea that we had come down the pipe yesterday. We had some Tolos saying, why not double and triple point totals for the bowl games to keep as many people in this challenge as possible all the way up to the end? And I like it. I like that idea a lot. So that'll be a next year thing that we'll add, Cole.
Can we count that high, though? It's a lot of counting.
It's a good thing we have Dan B doing this, because he's a pilot. He's good at math. He has to be good at math, and he will be doing the math for us next year.
That's true.
Yeah,
Allegedly.
So don't want to put that in our hands. We will screw it up.
We've got to get to our Daily Wires. That's next right here on the Fan Upstate.
Carson and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
While we are all having a Merry Christmas season, Diesel, we have to remember that there's a lot going on in the sports world out there. That's why we have a segment on this show every day for the Tolos called the Daily Wires.
Buzz.
It's the buzz, and you hear the buzz every single day on the Fan Upstate, most of the time at 3:45. How about this news? Notre Dame running back and Heisman Trophy finalist Jeremiah Love has declared for the NFL Draft. He is projected as the number 3 pick on Mel Kiper Jr.'s big board. Phil Yates has him going 14th to the Kansas City Chiefs. Any surprise there seeing Notre Dame's running back go out?
No, not really. He's crying, he's whining like a typical Notre Dame fan and player. Just got to get out. It's unfair. It's unjust. I got to go off to the NFL. As far as he's concerned, I bet he would really like to be the 14th overall pick to the Chiefs. I mean, I know that team is sliding a little bit this season, but if you're going to go anywhere, would you rather go to like the Jets or the Dolphins or to the Chiefs?
No, you definitely would take the slide. And that's one thing that, you and I have talked about many times on this show is I don't think there's enough bait of that. Everybody wants to go soon. But, man, I mean, when you said it, you'd rather go 14, 15 to a good team than go number 1 and be stuck in New York the rest of your life.
Give me a franchise and an ownership that knows what they're doing. Even if they're down right now, they know what they're doing.
Big 12 champions Texas Tech has extended the contracts of all 3 of its coordinators and their GM through the 2028 season. Head coach Joey McGuire got his extension 2 weeks ago. Maybe a team, Diesel. Maybe, just maybe a team that we're not talking enough about. You think so?
Yeah, I think that's awesome for them to be able to retain this many guys. I mean, it's been a long time since Michael Crabtree was running around out there in Lubbock. That was the last time I remember Texas Tech being really, really good. It was a short-lived thing. It was fun, but now it seems like they're here to stay, man. They're investing big time.
It does, and, man, that NIL boost, we saw what it was preseason. It helps. It helps a lot. The ACC will transition, we talked about this just a few minutes ago, into a 9-game conference schedule, awkwardly with some teams playing 9 in 2026 and some playing 8. Under the new rules, each team will be required to play 10 games against Power 4 competition. Clemson defeated South Carolina 68-61 on Tuesday evening. Ace Buckner, what a night for him. Carter Welling also came off the bench to score in double figures. No Clemson starter tallied more than 10 points, but Diesel, 2 guys off the bench, combined for 35 points last night. And you want starting 5 production, but if you're Brad Brunell and you can get 2 guys off the bench go for 35, you'll take it.
And Ace got that little learning moment, Cole, right there at the end of the game where he tried to put it right back up for 2, missed the rebound shot also, which gave South Carolina the ball back and the opportunity to get this thing close all over again. They still win the game, and he gets to learn a lesson, and he scores in double figures. A good night for Ace.
The Furman Paladins back in action tomorrow, Thursday. They're at Manhattan College tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Pregame with Dan Scott, 6:30, right here on the Fan Upstate. The Dolphins are benching Tua Tagovailoa and turning to rookie Quinn Ewers as their new starter. His first start will be Sunday against Cincinnati. Tua threw his NFL worst 15th interception in Monday's loss to the Steelers, which eliminated the Fins from the playoffs. And Diesel, just like that, the Quinn Ewers era may be beginning because this train of Tua Tagovailoa has derailed, buddy.
Yeah, he needs to sit down and put on one of those little cold hats things for when you got migraines and when you got headaches. He needs to get that figured out. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets traded and maybe tries again for 1 or 2 more seasons and then calls it a career.
I don't know. It just hasn't gone the way, a lot of people thought it would. Adam Silver says he's looking into the possibility of granting the Miami Heat some sort of satisfactory relief while the investigation into his alleged money laundering and wire fraud continues. His $26.6 million salary is still on the Heat's book. Talking about scary Terry Rozier, even though he's currently going unpaid. Silver said there's no obvious solution here. Sometimes there's these unique events that require unique solutions.
Yeah, they're still paying. Well, it's on the books, but they're not paying the guy. It's a court case is pending. Is he going to be cleared of this? Nobody knows. But the Heat are without a vital piece that they would need to win.
Adam Silver also plans to decide on NBA expansion in the next year with Las Vegas and Seattle as top contenders. And in case you missed it, this broke yesterday late on the show. Furman sophomore quarterback Trey Hedden announced his plans to enter the transfer portal, 4,700 yards in 2 seasons as a Paladin. Big local news with Trey Hedden in the portal. It really is. CBS announced the Army-Navy game averaged 7.8 million viewers. It's the most watched game of the season. Second place was Indiana-Oregon in Week 6, which averaged 5.6 million viewers.
USA.
I love it. I love
USA.
it. 10 years after originally listing it for $29 million, Michael Jordan's Chicago area estate sold for $9.5 to a real estate investor, but his plans, which have included turning it into a timeshare and listing it on Airbnb, have not been successful. 2 more for you. Garrett Riley said on Wednesday afternoon that he has no plans to leave Clemson, but he understands the nature of the business. I put those quotes online on Twitter at @TheColeBryson earlier today. So we'll see what happens with Garrett Riley in the coming weeks.
You know how hard it is to do radio, Cole, when you got somebody purposefully trying to distract you? I got Melissa Level with a blinking red nose on her face, leaning into my field of vision again and again and again. Like, look at me.
I can't wait to see it. Last one for you. Lake Wiley High School, a brand new high school, up 85, has announced the hiring of first-year head coach Nick Pelham. Nick Pelham was the head coach at White Knoll High School, so he will be leaving White Knoll to head north to Lake Wiley High School to be their first ever head ball coach. So a little bit of local news to end our Daily Wires.
Absolutely love it. When we come back, the head distractor in charge, Melissa Level, going to sit down with us for about 12, 15 minutes or so. We're going to find out all that's going on with Ingles. We got a lot of news, a lot of college football news to talk about with Melissa. That's coming your way next on the Fan Upstate. on location in Easley, the Pelzer Highway location right here outside of the deli. The food's smelling great. The people are pouring in. And Melissa Level got here about 15 minutes ago, Colin. She had a very serious-looking man waiting for her. I don't know how often that happens to you, Melissa. He had a jolly smile on his face, but he looked like a tough guy. Tell me about what he stopped by to do.
He is from the American Legion Post 3 in Greenville.
Okay.
And he presented me with a very special and I think priceless gift. There's a challenge. My father.
You mind if I show it?
Yeah, of course, please do. My father was a wind talker, so I'm familiar with these challenge coins. They've been going on since World War I, but they're this is a replica of a true coin, but this is for American Legion baseball. Ingalls and Post 3 were able to bring American Legion baseball back to Greenville for the first time in 3 years at the Furman baseball field, since that was kind of sitting there going, are we ever going to get baseball again or not? And so we had a great season with them, and we have 17 of the players eligible to come back again this year, so we're planning to do it again. But it's a great summer tradition, and if you haven't been to see American Legion baseball, you need to go see it. It's different than that NCAA or just regular high school. It's a combination of a bunch of different high school kids that are getting ready to be looked at for scouting and for colleges, and it's everybody's there, and it was packed every game.
Love it.
Melissa, have you got your Christmas shopping done? I need to know where Melissa Level's Christmas shopping is on the 17th day of December. Really important question here.
Okay, that was a laugh.
It sounded like a nervous, scared laugh.
Yeah. Was it nervous? Was there nerves there?
I've gotten everybody but Kevin, my husband. All right.
Ooh.
And he's the hardest person to buy for. Every year that we've been together, I buy him something and he never uses it.
Oh.
So I said, this year, you're going to go with me. We're going to pick it out, and then I'm going to wrap it up and put it on the tree. Because I wanted to be, he's like me, though. We'd love to give rather than receive. It kind of makes us kind of itchy, feel kind of weird. And so, but anyway, so this year I'm going to get, so everything else is done. I got some Christmas baking to do over the weekend to take to work next week. So other than that, I'm pretty set.
I know where Diesel and I are going to be this weekend.
That's
then.
right.
Yeah. Have you first of all, what's your opinion on gift cards in general as Christmas gifts? And have you ever panicked giving somebody an Ingalls gift card as a Christmas gift?
Well, unless it's a re-gift. I mean, and first of all, I think gift cards are fine if they are for that, if they're for something that person loves.
Needs.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Like if they go to Ulta a lot,
Yeah.
they give them a gift card for Ulta. If
People
they
are
go
very
to,
particular too.
yeah, Bass, right, or something, or Sportsman's Warehouse or whatever. I just don't like giving a general Visa or any kind of general card. It just says, "Hey, I had this." They don't know that you thought of them when you gave it, right?
You give that to anyone.
Right. I like giving a gift that has meaning in it.
Well, Melissa, by the way, stopped by and gave Cole and I some gifts. She gave us the gift of balls. We have a plush.
You actually have three of them.
We have a plush baseball. I know.
And one of them's a
Doctors
really
told me
weird
it's fine. Yeah. We got a basketball, a baseball, and a football that we're supposed to throw at each other in the studio.
Yeah,
now.
if you need to throw if you get mad at each other, you can throw them at each other, right?
I love that.
They're soft.
Yeah, studio props, right?
Uh-huh.
I love that. Where are we at, though, in terms of our
They are
last
wrong.
Christmas shopping question, Melissa?
Yes.
Where are you at in terms of online versus in store? I know, like Black Friday is one thing. I know a lot of people post now that they missed the good old days of Black Friday and, going shopping and actually lining up outside versus online. Are you online or do you still get out and about?
No, I am put on my boxing gloves, get out there at 5:00 in the morning and punch each other's face off and everything. Yep.
Really?
And this year I have to tell you, the store deals were incredible because they're losing a lot of those shoppers, right? Right. I go early though. I'm done by noon.
Stores. It seems like stores have figured that out.
Right.
Do you remember that game I Spy with my little
yes.
eye? Look around the room where we are right now. What would you think you could give to someone that's in front of us within eye view that would be the best Christmas gift you could give someone?
You could do a beautiful fruit basket, right?
Yeah.
You could do flowers, gorgeous flowers. We have really wonderful things. You could give Starbucks gift cards if somebody's a Starbucks person, right? Okay. Or you could give an Ingalls gift card if somebody's an Ingalls shopper. I like the fruit baskets. I think they're wonderful.
Everyone should be an Ingalls shopper.
Right.
Low prices and love the savings. It's right there in the tagline. Yeah.
because since you guys have been here, everybody's a meal shopper. Right?
Melissa, the college football playoffs are beginning just 2 days from now. Friday, we have Alabama and Oklahoma, and then a few games on Saturday. I want to get your thoughts because Diesel and I haven't talked to you since the CFP rankings were released. Tulane, JMU in, no Notre Dame to be found. What is Melissa Level's expert opinion? Did the committee get it right?
Well, first of all, let me just say that they admitted that they shunned us. Okay. And the reason I can say this, I know I'm never going to let it die. Okay.
Never get over it.
Okay. And the reason being is because Tulane and they don't have any chance of winning, period. 0 chance. Okay. And they said Florida State can't win without the quarterback. All right. So anyway, so when you have that, okay, when you do it this way, all right, this is a total admission. Plus they let Miami in. Okay. All right. So I'm pretty baffled by it. Okay. That's just I just have to get that out of my chest. Okay. But I think that the rest of them are pretty good. I really do. I think there can be some great matchups. I think that some of the ones you think are going to stick in may end up a little bit out or a little earlier than I think. But who knows? You might see a Cinderella like you see in the playoffs, in the basketball.
So you don't think either of those two teams covered? James Madison, I think 21 or 20.5 point dogs to Oregon, and Tulane, last I checked, were 17-point dogs to Ole Miss.
I think anything can happen.
Yeah.
And I think they could win. But what I'm saying is the folks in selection committee and ESPN said they can never win. Right. That's what they said on television. Well, I thought you said we could never win, and that's why we were in there. Right. So I think that, you never know. You could have a Cinderella.
Do you think it would be?
I think it's more likely Tulane.
Yeah. Do you think it would be the right call or an egregiously wrong call if the rules eventually change to make sure that can never happen again? Because it feels like they didn't expect Boise State to get a bye last year. They didn't expect Virginia to lose in the ACC championship game and the weird ACC, tiebreaker rules to even set that matchup up in the first place. Right. And they certainly didn't expect Duke to go beat Virginia in the ACC championship game. Do you think that those schools, that whole, I would say division, but it's not a division. It's still the same division as the ACC and the Big Ten, even though those fans don't want to admit it. Do you think they will eventually be punished for that?
Place. They put Miami in there because of that, because they wouldn't have had an ACC representative, right? So I am so disheartened by all of it.
Right.
I think we just go 64 teams and do it just like basketball.
It takes 6 months to play the playoff.
Yeah.
You could do it, do 4 games in a day. Who knows?
Let me ask you this though, Melissa. Melissa, you mentioned Cinderella a minute ago, and Diesel and I have had this conversation. I want to know, legitimate question for you. Football is a complete different sport than basketball. Do you believe in your heart of hearts that it's possible to have a world in which we have a Cinderella do it in football?
Well, yeah, because I think that particularly in these cases, because I think they're much better than people think they are, right? And and I think momentum has a lot to do with it as well. Now, of course, they're playing away from their home crowd and that kind of thing. So I think anything's possible. Every day I go to a FSU game or a Tampa Bay Buccaneer game, I say anything is possible. Anything's possible. I do think, and I heard something interesting the other day. I was talking with a friend of mine, just having a little chat over sports in general. And he said, I'm waiting for the shoe to drop about the locker room and NIL. Okay. And I said, well, how do you mean? And he said, I'm waiting for the shoe to drop when the people that are getting no NIL money try to make it up in betting. Okay. All right. So they might throw a game or throw something the way that they can in order to win, to make money, right? Okay, because and I don't know this would ever happen. This is just hearsay on my part. You're just talking about it. But this is a perfect thing that's right for that, right? There's animosity. This guy's making this much. This guy's making this much. All of a sudden, they're making nothing, right? Okay, they're probably just as good of a player. Maybe they think in their mind, I might just, make one less tackle or do an overrun.
Well, they hadn't before, but they certainly might now, Melissa. Thanks a lot.
Now that you give them the idea.
Well, this is somebody who knows that industry, right? And I think there's all sorts of safeguards and all sorts of things looking for that. But he said, I'm waiting for the shoe to drop for them to try.
Well, despite all the safeguards or the pleas to appeal to better angels, we're seeing more and more and more of these scandals
Right.
pop
That's
up
why he brought
all
it up
the
to
time.
me. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and these are pro players that are making incredible amounts of money. I think in some of those cases, maybe they had some debts that they had to pay back to the mafia, and they couldn't do it. So you're going to go sit down at that table and play that game, right? Okay, you're going to sit there.
Mafia.
Melissa, speaking of
Well, it
skids,
was the mafia. They said it was a mafia. Not me, the FBI.
you brought up the Bucks, and they are certainly skidding at the moment.
Oh.
They are skid marks on the NFL.
What happened?
They've lost 6 of their last 8 games.
Yeah.
So
They played
with the upcoming 2-game series separated by 1 game in between with the Carolina Panthers to end the season, how confident are you in your Bucks that have lost 6 of the last 8 to take care of a team that cannot win back-to-back ball games?
Well, the good thing is that we played on the Thursday night before, so we had all this extra time.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of players back that weren't in the lineup before, so I'm confident. I think they will. I love Baker Mayfield. I think he's upbeat for the team. I'm going to say I'm confident right now. I feel good about it. We're going to win at least one of those 2 games against Carolina, and then hopefully that extra one in between.
Which for you would be the Dolphins.
Right. Melissa, I want to know from Melissa Level of Ingles Markets what your thoughts are on the wildest story ever in the history of college football last week with Sharon Moore. And boy, if things just didn't go from bad to real bad to ugly, I'm sure you're up to date on all of it, right?
I am. And, I think that the stalking part is the worst, but I don't know. I think absolutely horrible story to think about. But, how do people give up $30 million for that, right? I mean, how do people risk $30 million?
The heart wants what the heart wants, I guess.
Well, the thing is, though, if the heart wants what the heart wants and they're willing to give up $30 million, why do you go threaten their lives when you have to leave?
Yeah.
When you're forced to leave, why don't you stick up for it and just be a man about it and go do it?
If he had done that, we would be in a not dissimilar situation from what's his name down at Arkansas
Right.
all those years ago, where 10 years go by, you sort of try to rehab your image as a coordinator somewhere, and you maybe get another opportunity down the line. But when it turned into, I'm going to follow her home, I'm going to stalk her, I'm going to threaten her, and then I'm going to threaten to hurt myself.
Right.
That's those moments that
then you go to
take
crazy
you
town.
out. Yeah.
But the only advantage that he has is he can say, at least I wasn't a Jerry Sandusky.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
I guess that's true.
I mean? Because with first minute,
Do you ever think he coaches again, though, Melissa?
Oh, I think he has a long way to go if he does. I think he has to get some serious treatment and find God and get on the right path. I mean, this is a family man.
Hey, even Art Briles is coaching again. He's coaching high school football in like Nevada, I think.
Yeah, and with AI, who knows? Coaches that are dead might be coaching again. Who knows? I don't know. Bring Bobby back. I'm good.
Melissa, we've talked since your friend from the American Legion came by and gave you this challenge coin, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago when we had you on. The Goodfellas Drive was so successful. What's the next big thing, the next big project that Ingles is working on?
Well, we have the Goodfellas actual handout day after tomorrow. So we deliver food downtown Greenville at Bon Secours tomorrow. So that was really great. They were able to raise $19,000 to purchase food for Goodfellas. So you guys really, really
love it.
Came to the mat for us. And we so appreciate it because without a megaphone like you guys, we just couldn't do it. Our next big thing will be coming up in the winter months. We'll be looking at some coat drives for those colder January, February drives. And, we just finished in the clutch. We had that going as well. And then, of course, we have the Spartan Burgers kicking back up pretty soon, sooner than you think. So we'll be going that as well.
Cole and I are working on an idea, and we've already gotten the unofficial thumbs up from our friends at the Spartan Burgers.
Ooh.
Where we're gonna try here. We're gonna hang out for that little introductory welcome to the new season event.
Right.
We're just gonna hide out, just stay in the stadium,
live there.
Oh,
I don't blame you.
Until they win a game.
Well, they win a lot.
Well, I mean, hope it's a weird thing to say.
We
want them to win, so that we can go home, but we want them to lose so that we can stay longer.
I get you. So it's an actual promotion that you actually you're actually going to stay there.
Hopefully.
Now you need to tie that into people bring you stuff while you're there. Something like food drive or a pet food drive or.
Well, we know a guy. He's standing right over there. His name's Jay Wilson.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah,
and he's my rep. He's
snazzy dresser too.
Yeah, he's.
At least his shirt's tucked in today.
Thing, I'm not sure about it. It's like a seersucker. I'm not. Do men still wear seersucker? I guess they do in Alabama.
Yes,
not here. They do.
Yes, they do. Melissa, let's do a little pick 'em.
Okay.
Let's do a little pick. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. Ready. College football playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
College football playoffs are here. Diesel and I kind of gave our first thoughts, early leans yesterday.
Right.
Let's start with Alabama, Oklahoma. Melissa Level, Friday night, 8:00. This one is in Norman, Oklahoma. It's a home game for Oklahoma. The Tide lost to Oklahoma back during the regular season, Melissa, by just a few points. Who do you like in this one?
Alabama. I don't think you lose twice.
I like it.
I like
Alabama. I don't think they have that repeat
Saturday. No, I'm with you. I think Diesel and I pretty much went back and forth on it yesterday. Mm-hmm. Saturday, Melissa, there are 3 games, and these will be our 3 games we get the picks from you. Not the upset picks, but just straight up. We want to know what the expert Melissa Level thinks.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Miami, sore subject versus Texas A&M. Who do you like?
I like Miami.
Ooh.
Yeah,
wow,
I think.
Look at you.
I think these ACC teams are better than most people. I like Miami. I think Miami had a little bit of a stretch of, I forgot to take my schizophrenia medication. So but I think they're back on their right meds now. And I think they win.
Now Madcraft, if he isn't already, has to become an Eagles shopper because Madcraft is and Hurricane Jeff as well,
That's
our 2 hardcore Hurricane fans. Y'all have to shop at Ingles because Melissa, a Florida State alum,
and that hurt me to
likes you to win the game.
The Florida State-Miami game is the only game I know of that they fight in the middle before the coin toss. Okay, and whatever that stupid thing is that you wear around your neck when you do a pick, when you take that thing off. That is disgusting. Okay, you look like Flavor Flav. Okay,
3:30 Saturday, Melissa. 3:30 Saturday. Tulane, Ole Miss in the we have to let these guys in bowl game.
Right. I would love to see Tulane beat Ole Miss because they didn't let the coach stay for the playoffs. But I think it's still Ole Miss.
Okay. And then JMU, Oregon, by the way, JMU, Oregon is a 21-point spread in favor of the Oregon Ducks.
Oregon all the way.
Yeah, I think
Oregon
so.
all the way.
So Melissa Level's going Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're going Oregon, Ole Miss, Miami, and Alabama. Those are your 4 winners.
Yeah, Alabama's a little trickier, but I'm going with it. I'm sticking with it.
So, Tolos, put all that on a parlay. Put as much money as you can on it, and it's going to hit because Melissa Level said so.
Oh, boy, that'd be bad.
Love it.
But that's wonderful, though. I'm and for the first Saturday in 7 months, I don't have to work. So I'm going to be glued to the TV Friday night through every game. I cannot wait. This is my favorite time of the year.
And guess what? Y'all sell coolers in here. You sell ice. You sell beer and sodas and chicken wings and everything you could possibly want to sit all day and watch football.
If I could figure out a way not to get up and go to the bathroom, I wouldn't even do that. But I am there.
Bottles and have you ever heard of the Shiwi?
I can't do that. I don't have those. I don't have those things that I gave you.
Melissa, if Miami pulls it off and beats A&M, who's the first person that's going to call you to rub it in? Like you being a Florida State alum, somebody's going to – because Cole said it the other day. When the Dallas Cowboys lose, he gets 30 text messages rubbing it in. Who's the first person?
His name is Micah Miller. He does our signage. He prints our signage. Die Hard is on the phone with me instantaneously after we lost to them in the regular season.
I love it. Melissa, do you have an upset pick for the post-Christmas bowl games? If not, I'll give you my phone and let you look at all the spreads, and we'll get it off the air, and we'll share it here in just a couple minutes.
I'll take a look at those.
All right. Love it.
Thank you.
Melissa,
Merry
you're
Christmas,
the best.
everybody.
We appreciate you.
And tell those Merry Christmas. I love you.
Oh, my God. That's going on a promo right there. That was fantastic. Melissa Level from Ingles Markets. I want to get it to a tweet. In the very next segment, Diesel, did Ray Tanner make the biggest mess of all time? I'll explain it. I'll ask you South Carolina fans to comment, get in on the conversation as well. Next on the Fan Upstate. Well, Diesel, you and I, it's our job to prepare content, plan content, and generate response on this show. And sometimes we do a really good job of that, but sometimes we see things on the internet that make us think, this is pretty interesting. And that's where I'm going in this segment. This is for South Carolina Gamecock fans. We want to hear from you at 844-326-3663. I will give credit where credit's due on this tweet that I saw from Inside the Gamecocks. It's at Inside Gamecocks on X. But first, before we get into that, Diesel, it is the Upset Picks Challenge. We need the Tolos. It's a reminder, the Upset Picks Challenge is open right now. We need your name, game, and spread. This is your final opportunity of the season to get your upset picks in. We got to get those numbers up.
Yeah, Tolos, 844 fan phone. A couple of Tolos have sent theirs in already. Let's see, JT and Greer is going UConn plus 9.5 over Army. JT, I feel like we should take away your citizenship for making that pick. Melissa gave me hers during the break. She's taking Penn State plus 3.5 over the Tigers.
Clemson.
Joe DePisqua going UConn over Army. Clemson 83 is picking Memphis. Clemson 83, that was last week's pick. You got to make a pick for post-Christmas bowl games starting on the 26th and beyond. So that is a pre-Christmas pick. Can't pick those right now. You got to pick games after Christmas.
That's tragic. That's tragic. Make sure you're turning it on and leaving it on so you can hear the instructions. It's post-Christmas bowls, including there are no CFP games as of yet.
We won't know who's going to be in it.
No. That's right. All right, let's get into this. And again, I prefaced by saying, South Carolina fans, I want to hear from you. Phone lines are open. The stream, 88 Tolos watching on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can comment there. You can text the show. You can call the show, 844-326-3663. You can also send us a tweet at the Fan Upstate. Diesel's at Diesel on radio on X. I'm at the Cole Bryson. So I saw this tweet earlier today, Diesel, and I thought, this is interesting. I want to bring it to the air. I want to get your thoughts on it, Diesel, as well as the thoughts of Gamecock fans across the upstate. Was Ray Tanner the worst AD of all time for South Carolina when it comes to the hires that he made? That is a very loaded question, right? Was Ray Tanner the worst AD of all time? That's the question I ask. You say, Cole, why would you ask such a thing? Well, Inside the Gamecocks, Diesel did a great job of listing out the accomplishments, or what's the opposite of accomplishments?
Lack thereof.
Failures. Okay. That makes it sound harsh, but you're right. Starting with football, these are all hires by Ray Tanner. Will Muschamp, 28-30, one bowl win. Shane Beamer, 33-30, one bowl win. In basketball, Lamont Paris, 56-53. He's almost 500. One NCAA tournament berth.
And you got to think there's a good chance they're going to be sub 500 in his tenure by the end of the season.
Yeah.
Won't take long.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. 19-35, by the way, in the conference. And then you get to baseball. Chad Holbrook, which, to be fair, at the time was a great hire. Like, everybody wanted Chad Holbrook. He was 200-106, 3 NCAA tournaments. Mark Kingston, 217-155, 4 NCAA tournaments. We all know how that ended. And now Paul Maneri, 28-29, 6-24 in conference. Diesel, is it safe to say, and Gamecock fans want to hear from you as well, is it safe to say that Ray Tanner was the worst AD of all time for the University of South Carolina?
Without knowing South Carolina history, it seems as if Ray Tanner has found himself in a unique position where he's had to make a lot of coaching hires during his tenure. And it doesn't feel like he's been athletic director there for that long, though I'm sure a lot of Gamecock fans would say, oh, yeah, it does. It feels like he's been the AD for a long time. I mean, it begs the question, what were his qualifications? Why did Ray Tanner get the job? Loving the university is great, and maybe it means you're not going to leave for another higher profile job at the first sign of opportunity. But what was the prerequisite for making him athletic director?
He was a good baseball coach.
Is a coach a great
fundraiser.
administrator? I mean, that's the job. It's administration and fundraising. Just because you're a great coach doesn't mean you could do that.
So Diesel, following his 2 national baseball championships, he became AD in July of 2012. He stepped down in September of last year, 2024, transitioned to a new role, right? He was AD for 12 years. And you said it. He did have to make a lot of hires. He did have to make some pretty serious hires as well. But when you look at the track record of these South Carolina coaches, and by the way, Dawn Staley was not hired by Ray Tanner. Dawn Staley was hired in 2008, and it was, I believe, Eric Hyman who hired Dawn Staley without looking. So Ray Tanner's not responsible for that. You go to football, where Will Muschamp was an epic failure, Diesel, coming from Florida. A lot of people at first thought Coach Boom could turn it around. And then Shane Beamer, he hired him right around 2020. COVID, a turbulent start, right? We all know how that start went. And then along the way, Shane Beamer's, he's figuring things out. He has some good season. He has some really good wins. But last year, 2025, this past season, if you will, one of the worst seasons in a long time for South Carolina. I believe Ray Tanner was good at a lot of things. When you talk about, Diesel, what the qualifications are for an athletic director, it's a broad umbrella, right? You know it. You've been around schools, programs. You went to App State. You know what an AD has to do. I think he was really good at a lot of those things, but it's hard to defend the hires that Ray Tanner's made. That's where I land. It's hard to defend those hires, you know?
And somebody, again, a South Carolina historian could probably provide a little more information to this. When it was time to make these kinds of decisions, was Ray Tanner assured of himself and his ability to hire coaches? Because in theory, when you're a coach, you should be able to better identify another coach that has the it factor. But at what point do you have to say, hey, man, have you ever heard of a search firm? Like a company and a firm whose job it is to find you the right candidate for this job? And maybe you should take their recommendations, or should have taken.
Should have.
Right.
Now, of those, you can say, okay, Shane Beamer just made some crucial hires, right, at the offensive positions, 3 hires, running back, offensive line, and then you talk about the offensive coordinator. But Diesel, like, these hires don't lie. And I'm going back now on Twitter to this original tweet because I was really shocked by some of the replies at first. There were a lot of replies to this tweet, as you know, as you can imagine. And again, I want to be fair to Ray Tanner here. Chad Holbrook, the hire of Chad Holbrook, I don't really count that as a slap on the wrist. Chad Holbrook, things did not work out. But we talk about it all the time with Alabama and Nick Saban. Nobody wants to be the guy that follows the guy. Chad Holbrook was the smartest hire across the country at that time. Like, everybody thought, great hire. They hit the home run. He was on staff. Ray Tanner, prodigy. Diesel, he was there. He was under Ray Tanner. He knows what to do. But guess what? Things didn't work out. Things actually ended really badly for Chad Holbrook. So I'm not going to say like that was a horrible hire. Mark Kingston, not good. Lamont Paris, is the jury still out? Or are we saying that this year could be it for Lamont Paris?
I think it could be because, I mean, you look around that conference, how many new hires have come into these schools since Lamont Paris was hired and are finding success? I mean, some of them, sure, like Coach Cal going to Arkansas. I don't really count that one because he was already an elite head coach coming from an elite institution with a lot of money down there, that Tyson Chicken money down there at Arkansas. It's real. But other schools in your conference have made hires with success since. So It's not as if to say the conditions just changed on him and he's having a hard time winning. No, other coaches are winning in this conference, so the excuse is gone.
I think, and I'm just looking at this tweet, Gamecock fans, we want to hear from you at 844-326-3663. Diesel, I believe that of those bad hires, and I'm not going to chalk Shane Beamer up to a bad hire quite yet, but I do believe that Paul Mainieri's the worst of them. I think Paul Mainieri's the worst hire that Ray Tanner made. And I'm not saying that Jeremiah Donati is going to be this hero. I think Jeremiah Donati's already done some really good things, especially on the fundraising side of things, Diesel. When you talk about the Blanchard deal, and then on the coaching side, his connection with Kendall Briles, being able to help Shane Beamer get Kendall Briles to Columbia, $350 million stadium renovation. I think Jeremiah Donati is doing an incredible job. The jury's still out on, obviously, the Briles hire. But you just look at some of these hires, they haven't been they've been bad. I think it's safe to say the Paul Mainieri hires, the worst one he's made. Maybe you could argue that the Lamont Paris or Will Muschamp hires worse, but I think Paul Mainieri is the worst hire of them all. And I guess for me, Diesel, the jury still is out on Lamont. Will Muschamp was not good. He was 28-30 with one bowl win. That did not, his success didn't translate to Columbia for whatever reason. But I just think when you look at what Ray Tanner tried to do with Paul Mainieri, trying to recreate this Spurrier feel, this Spurrier era by bringing an old guy in, right, that at one time was a living legend in the game. In the first year, that thing got off to a horrible start, and I'm not sure that it's going to get much better under Paul Mainieri.
Yeah, it's still a head scratcher to me. I mean, I don't know when Ray Tanner made his decision that he was going to exit stage left. I don't know if it was a good old boy hire. I don't know if it was a nepotism. Hey, he's one of my buddies and he's been interested in coming back. I mean, it's just a head scratcher. The fact that if you believe the storyline that, they called Paul to consult and maybe give some ideas and vet some potential candidates, and they said, oh, well, we kind of like Paul. Why don't we just if that's the best option you had available at the time, what is a 75-year-old man? I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Paul Mainieri. He knows a lot more baseball. He's forgotten more baseball than I'll ever know. But come on, this is the modern era of college athletics. You could see the writing on the wall from a mile away that this was not going to hit the ground running and be successful when Paul was elite at building a team culture based around a shared vision in a time when players were all splitting scholarships. The game has completely changed since he was the coach.
Yeah, and I'll say this, the last comment I have is I almost said a minute ago, Diesel, that, well, at least Ray Tanner hired Frank Martin, who was the most successful basketball coach in South Carolina history, to my knowledge, right? Frank Martin's tenure didn't end well, but Frank Martin was really good. But guess what? It wasn't Ray Tanner that hired Frank Martin. It was Eric Hyman that hired Frank Martin 2 months before Ray Tanner got the job. So it was a great hire by Hyman to bring Martin in. Things just didn't work out. But I'm telling you, when you look at the hire specifically, yeah, he fundraised. Yeah, he was a good guy. Everybody loved him. But Diesel, these hires, man, he was not hitting the nails on the heads for whatever reason. And this was a failure, and we'll see. The jury's still out on a couple of these.
Yeah, I think you can fundraise on being a good guy and likable and having a lot of passion for the university and its programs and its student athletes and their experience. But eventually, wins and losses matter. And if you're not getting it done, you're just simply not getting it done. When we come back, Cole, the conversation that has to be had every year, and hey, we're coming down to the wire, man, 8 days until Christmas. Is this particular gift an elite, goated level gift, or is it just plain lazy and unimaginative? We'll talk about it next.
Clear?
You know, Cole, I just saw somebody walking by with that brand new Clemson military appreciation hoodie. If you haven't seen it yet, it looks nice. I don't know how he got it so fast. These things just went on sale like a week ago. But it looks cool.
It yet.
A lot of Clemson
Is it like
gear.
Camo?
Yeah, it's
digital camo.
It's all green. It's all like that. The olive drab green color. It's got a little American flag patch on the shoulder, and it had. I think it was also in green, just like raised lettering across the chest. Clemson Tigers. It looks nice, man. You see a lot of Clemson gear floating around in this store. Us being just 15, 20 minutes north of Clemson down here at 410 Pelzer Highway in Easley. Got your $5 Ingles gift cards when you stop by. These things are great in store. You knock $5 off your order. Depending on what you get, it might cover the whole thing because prices are so low here at Ingles Markets. But Cole, do you remember what it was like when you were a little kid? Like Christmas morning, you'd wake up and you'd find a fire truck under the tree, scale model, of course. You'd find, a video game console, whatever it is. Like you unwrap the presents, and it's awesome. Now, Cole, it's like a stack of envelopes. Hey, here's a Home Depot gift card. Here's a gas station gift card. And don't get me wrong, I'm not looking a gift horse in the mouth. I still love those things, and it allows me to go get exactly what I want with it. But in your mind, are gift cards awesome or lazy?
You know what? Diesel, I hate to do this to you, but I think there's somewhere in between. I don't hate a gift card, but if it comes from like family or close friends or whatever, just give me cash.
Cash.
Give me cash. Give me cold hard cash. Because here's the reality. I think I have like 2 to 3 Belk cards in my wallet right now. And I have not been to Belk in, I don't know, maybe a year, maybe 9 months, 10
Who
months.
shops at Belk anymore? Not to disparage Belk.
No, I like it. I like Belk. I just don't go. And so I would say somewhere in between on the whole gift giving thing. Like, I guess here's why I say between. I would prefer you get me a gift card rather than something that I absolutely hate, right? If you don't know how to shop for somebody, get them a gift card. That's where I am on it.
And I get, like, we're all very particular nowadays. If you want just whatever it is, a new pair of shoes, right? You want a very specific new pair of shoes. You don't just want any shoes that somebody picks up off the rack, even if they're in your size. You want something very specific. So I get why gift cards allow you to go get what you want. But to me, on Christmas Day, this is my feeling on an 844 fan phone. Tell me if you agree. I think it's kind of anticlimactic when somebody hands you an envelope. You know exactly what it is. It's either a gift card or it's a gift in your name to the Human Fund, and that's not fun either. Somebody's given me that, by the way, a gift, a donation in my name to the Human Fund, which is from Seinfeld, which doesn't exist. It's a piece of paper.
Gotcha.
Like that. Remember that trend when you would like make a donation to a charity in somebody's name? Well, on Seinfeld, George does that, and he makes it seem like it's a big deal because he's giving out all these donations, but the fund doesn't exist. He doesn't actually give any money. He just wants the gift-giving capital of having given something.
I like the Jelly of the Month Club, though. Don't you? I mean, doesn't everybody love Jelly of the Month?
Clark, that's the gift that keeps giving all year round.
Hey, I'll tell you one I saw this year that I didn't get in time. I should have ordered a few of them, but I think I saw it on TikTok. It's pretty good. You know how growing up, you'd always get stuff and it'd say what? Batteries not included. Right?
Yeah.
Well, now there's a trend going around. The gift is a little small plastic baggie with 2 AA batteries, and on the top it says gift not included. I love that. Don't you?
It's clever. It's smart.
Gift not included.
I used to give for friends for their birthday and for Christmas, I would give away a holiday 5-pack of beer. I would buy a 6-pack of beer. I'd drink one, and then I'd give them 5 beers. Like, because who could be mad about getting 5 free beers if you like drinking beer? It's still free beer. Yeah, it's still free
Such
beer.
a guy thing. Oh, that's such a guy thing. That doesn't surprise me one bit, though. I don't know. And I think there's still a 5-pack in your office, by the way, from the Rise guys that you hadn't drank yet. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not against the gift cards. I mean, I like them as long as it's a store that fits.
But the alternative is asking someone exactly what they want and then go buying, potentially screwing it up, but go buying that exact thing. And then that also is anticlimactic because you're like, oh, I remember, 2 weeks ago when you asked me what I wanted and you went and got it. Thanks.
But you know what, though? I think that's where we've gotten to. Like when you get older in life, you would rather just have that happen, right? You would rather just say, okay, this is what I want. If it's a new pair of boots, whatever, that's what I want. That's what you're going to get. You don't have to, because there's no worse feeling on Christmas than being like, yeah, I don't really like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess that's just kind of where we are now.
Texter says, I brought a rotisserie chicken and a 5-pack to a white elephant party. White elephant parties are fun, man. If you've never done one of those white elephant parties, they're great.
Yeah, they are fun.
I brought
a rotisserie chicken, though. Are you kidding me right now?
Come on, it's a free rotisserie chicken. That's good. God. I like it.
Yeah, but it's cold.
Now, to me, my favorite right now, my favorite Christmas gifts. And hey, if I want something, I'm just going to go buy it for myself, right? We've all hit that age where it's like you can't just give somebody a football and have them be excited about it. But I would rather have an experience, right? Here's a pass to the, I've done this before, Richard Petty driving experience. That sounds awesome. Here's a round of golf at this really cool golf course.
No, that's a good point.
Really
that's a good point. Yeah, a hunting trip. Buy me a hunting trip. Absolutely. A fishing trip. Absolutely. I'll take it.
How do you buy somebody a hunting trip? Isn't that just like dropping them off on the side of the road? And
no, you pay for a guided hunt. No, you pay for a guided hunt.
Okay.
Like a lodge. You go somewhere fancy or they have a lodge. They cook for you. They take you out. It's, it's guided.
That sounds great.
It's guided. Yeah, it is. It is great. It really is, especially if you have money. Diesel, in the very next segment, we have to get to the latest today. That's right. Today. It happened today. Press conference with Garrett Riley and Tom Allen. Not Tim Allen, Tom Allen. Both coordinators and a couple of players from Clemson spoke today to the media regarding the bowl game. We'll have the audio listen and react. exactly so sure where the interest level is for Clemson fans right now. Now, Diesel, I know we all know Clemson fans want to win the Pinstripe Bowl. You play the game to win, right? But just based on what I've seen today on Twitter, I don't know what the fans' excitement level is for this Pinstripe Bowl. I think it's kind of hard to gauge. But there's also no surprise to that, right? Like you're not surprised by that, are you? It's Pinstripe Bowl.
I mean, it's fun. It's a cool location. You get to go to New York City instead of, flying across country to go to Arizona, a place that, fans who have been following Clemson through their title run, some of them might have been to a time or two before. See, to me, I find the new venue, the new location, that to be the most exciting thing. The game is just icing on the top.
No, I'm with you on that. And in fact, you and I talked about it. I wouldn't have any interest in going or covering the games, just to be quite frank, if it were somewhere random. Orlando, like, been there, done that, right? We've all seen that. But you're right, to the point of it being in New York City, that does make it a little bit fun. By the way, Tolos, if you're interested, if you're heading home, if you are a lover of football like I am and will watch anything, Old Dominion, South Florida is about to kick off on ESPN. 5 o'clock, Old Dominion, South Florida, and the Staph DNA Cure Bowl. Do you know what the Staph DNA Cure Bowl is, Diesel?
I know the Cure Bowl. I don't know it as the staph infection and cure. I mean, Staph DNA.
That's what it sounds like.
What a horrible, horrible name. We talked about it. Dan brought it up a week or so ago on Overreaction Mondays. Like, branding matters here, and they're putting the worst possible branding on bowl games. You want to make people not care about it? Make it sound stupid to say out loud.
You also tonight have Louisiana and Delaware, 8:30 on ESPN. It is let's see, what bowl is this? The 68 Ventures Bowl.
What the heck is 68 Ventures?
Don't know what that is, Diesel, but it's the 68 Ventures Bowl. So there's two bowls tonight. One is literally about to kick off, Old Dominion, South Florida. I have no idea who's going to win this game, Diesel. South Florida's favored by 4. I took Old Dominion as the underdog, given 3.5 points. So we'll see. I don't know. South Florida's got Kevin Patrick as their interim head coach right now. You just never know what's going to happen in these bowl games. But speaking of bowl games, speaking of Clemson, the fans and their interest, we want to hear from Clemson fans where your interest is for the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl. Diesel, let's do a little listen and react. Garrett Riley, Tom Allen, Sammy Brown, Will Helt spoke to the media today. Let's start with Garrett Riley. Let me know, since you're on location at Ingles, feel free to interrupt anytime, but we'll start with the offensive coordinator, Garrett Riley.
It's obviously that time of year when
David Hood, by the way, asking a question to start the press conference. We were all on computers, no in person. Zoom. Yeah, thank you.
What do you do at this point? In just preparing for the bowl.
Yeah, David, it's every year this is kind of a wild time for everybody. Just as much change as there is, you're trying to figure out your team for the bowl, who's playing, recruiting. Typically we'd be on the road recruiting, and now that rule has changed. So it's like, I feel like I'm almost just used to it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a wild time, as you get towards the end of the season for a lot of reasons, but just really to answer your question, like, you just got to take it day by day. With everything in this job, but what I would say is just really the focus now is just, hey, let's go win this game. Let's go have a great bowl experience. Certainly excited about the opportunity to go play a program and compete against a program like Penn State and up in New York of all places, and have a chance to go compete with our team one last time for this season. So yeah, that's really where the focus is. I know that's kind of coach speak, but that's honestly the reality of it. Like, you just have to be that way.
So David Hood in that first question was asking about his focus, where his focus was, Diesel, with him being mentioned, for Coastal Carolina and other jobs. That was the first question from David Hood. Comment, or you want to continue?
Well, it's very clear that Garrett Riley's mindset is sort of all over the place. There's so many more questions. There's so many different questions. Who's on my team? Who's going to be playing? Who's going to maybe opt out at the last minute?
Yep.
It's a tough spot to be in. You know, I mean, look, the guys that are on your team are still going to have to go out and play, and it's not like you're bringing in new players to come play in a bowl game, and all of a sudden you got to figure out how to coach new guys. But you also, at this point of the season, you have a really good idea of the ability level of the players you got on your team. And if your starting linebacker is not going to play, and now all of a sudden your second string linebacker is entering the transfer portal and your third string linebacker is going to be starting, well, that certainly changes your game plan, right? Just because they're playing the same position doesn't mean they have the same skill set. So you got a game plan around your player's skill set. And it's all still very much up in the air with these guys.
No, it does change a little bit. I'll say the biggest thing is, before we get back to more Garrett Riley audio, and some of this is really good, by the way, I think the biggest thing is, from a coordinator standpoint, you have to go into these kind of games, Diesel, with a bowl game like this and having all these fresh faces. There's a lot of unknowns. I think the key is, for any coach in this position, and I'm not a coach, I'm not sitting here telling coaches how to coach, but I think you have to have a flexible game plan. What I mean is, you have to have a game plan that allows you to be flexible within the game plan, adjust on the spot, because a lot of these type of scenarios and these bowl games, like we're watching right now with Old Dominion in South Florida, a game that there's 15 people in attendance for, Diesel, you just never know. So you have to, as an offensive coordinator, as a defensive coordinator, you have to have a very flexible game plan in my mind. Here's more from Garrett Riley.
Up on that, what is your message to the players on how they handle that from a day-to-day perspective of knowing, like you have to have some time to think about the future, but also you're trying to win, in your guys' case, an eighth game of the season, to finish this one up the way you guys wanted to?
Well, I just think it's a clear message from Coach Sweeney, our leader, is like, it's a daily focus. You know what I'm saying? And so we've had time since our last regular season game. You've had a good block of time to kind of, get refreshed, get some guys healthy, get some young guys, developmental people, a lot more reps in bowl practice. I mean, it's such a huge part of making a bowl is you get those extra practices to really, accelerate some people that you're going to be banking on next season. So, I just think the daily message and the daily focus is what, Coach Sweeney does a great job here of. And I think that message is very clear with our team.
We'll next go to Grayson Mann from TigerNet.com.
Shout out Grayson, by the way.
Hey, Jared, you mentioned kind of the acceleration of players that you're banking on for next season. Just in this preparation, in this process that you guys have had, who's maybe stood out to you as guys that you're thinking, oh, this could be someone that really stands out for this offense in 2026?
Yeah, I'll tell you one guy. I mean, there's been several people that have caught my eye for sure. It's been a little bit of musical chairs as far as who's out at practice and all that stuff recently. But, a guy that really has just improved steadily since really probably the second half of our season, and certainly has flashed here in these last few bowl practices is, one that stands out to me is Juju Preston. All right, a receiver. He's done a great job of just adapting and just kind of getting – just totally getting ingrained with what we do and what his job is and the technique and the assignment, just all the things that go along with it. But, with his progress, I'm super, super proud of him. And, he's still got a ways to go and all of that. But with the improvement that I've seen since the day he got on campus, I'm totally proud, of his progress for sure. So I think there's some bright future and bright days ahead for Juju.
Next, we'll go to Chapel Fowler from the State Newspaper.
Hey, Garrett. Appreciate you taking the time. I understand this might not be your main focus right now, but you were reportedly involved with the North Texas and Coastal Carolina jobs. I just want to give you a chance to speak about your own future as a coach and if you expect to be back at Clemson next year.
Yeah, I mean, my whole focus is operating here at Clemson. I know this is an unbelievable place to work, unbelievable place to live. Certainly didn't have the season that we all wanted. But sometimes that's sports. And I know there's decisions to be made and all that stuff, big picture wise. But I'm telling you, I mean, my whole focus is being here, being the best I can for our staff, being the best I can for our players, and giving us the best chance to finish this thing out the way we have been the last few weeks and go cap it off with a great bowl win. So that's 100% the focus.
So, Diesel, it doesn't sound like a guy with one foot out the door. However, I think what we have to remember is ultimately it might not be up to him, right? And I don't know. I know what a lot of people have reported on, that Garrett Riley will not be at Clemson in 2026. But just based off of that audio, and it's coach speak, right? We've heard it a million times.
Yeah.
Sounds like he's focused on just Clemson.
Well, you have to answer the question that way, right? I mean, if you answer it saying, well, I don't know, it's not up to me, it's not in my hands, that's Coach Sweeney's decision, then, of course, people are going to be using that against you. It could send a couple of more guys into the transfer portal, which opens up here in, just about 2 weeks or so.
Sure.
It could send more guys that maybe there's a couple guys on this team that really like the direction that Garrett Riley is taking them or developing them. And if he said, I'm entering, if I'm not going to be here anymore, they may say, oh, I got to prepare to go with him or cut bait and try to go somewhere else. So, I appreciate that he answers that question with as much tact as you possibly can. Cocky Jake 87 on the stream says, has Garrett Riley been let go yet? I would have liked to ask Garrett, if you were doing a little self-scouting, Garrett, or if you were in Dabo Sweeney's shoes, how would you evaluate how you've changed and improved just over this past season? Like, it's easy to, see the improvement when everything is going your way, but in seasons where it doesn't go your way, where have you seen your ability to adjust and adapt and get better as the season goes along?
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's see. Let's hear rather more from Garrett Riley.
Next question will come from Larry Williams of TigerIllustrated.com.
Maybe.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me, Garrett?
Yeah, I got you.
I will be fair to Larry, Diesel. You have to they enable you to be a panelist, and then you have to raise your hand, and then when they call on you, you have to unmute yourself, then you have to add the video. So it does take a little bit of time. These virtual press conferences kind of suck.
Just curious, staying on the topic of the big picture, looking to next season, was hoping to get some of your insight on CV, and obviously this was a big season for him, a big off season before that. How would you evaluate him, and has he done maybe what you were looking for to create the confidence that he can be the guy next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that I look at, just being his position coach and being the coordinator, is like, hey, is this guy, does he have the intangibles that you want? Is he improving with the reps that we're getting? Like, do you see those flashes? Do you see that consistently getting better? And I think he's done a good job of that. And I think, again, just going back to his real experience of true game experience against SMU, I mean, he's going to draw a lot off of that moving forward for him individually. But, we'll certainly evaluate everything as our season, finishes here pretty soon. Some of that's already begun, as you would imagine. But, I think CV's done a good job of consistently improving and maturing and just doing all the things that you would anticipate that a quarterback's going to do as he goes through a program, especially a program like Clemson.
Thank you, Larry. Next, we'll go to Noah Chast from ABC Columbia.
Hey, Coach, thanks for your time. Some of the Penn State players who were on here earlier talking about what they were seeing looking at the Clemson season throughout the year, and they noticed there's a lot of screen passes involved. I guess just more big picture, when you have a full season and you run your offense the way you do, and then you have one bowl game at the end, how much do you stick to what you like to do throughout the season, and how much do you change things up for this one game?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I think there's a lot of different ways to do it and different approaches with it. Now, I think probably more so than ever, a lot of that kind of comes down to who's playing for you, who you have, just because the nature of bowl games right now, with people missing out and things of that nature. So I think a lot of it obviously has to do with that. But, I mean, you're always going to rely on what you feel like you do well and all those things, but you also have some added time to experiment a little bit and have some wrinkles, have some fun bowl stuff ready to roll. And so that's what's always the fun part about getting ready for a bowl game.
Noah hit him with the Penn State players said you throw a bunch of screen passes. It's good stuff right there.
Hey, this is the time of year though, Cole. You gotta, if you've got plays in the holster, fire them off. Have some fun. These guys practice some of these trick plays all summer, all season long. Never ever get to run them. I would love to see bowl games turn into a little bit more of a backyard free-for-all fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And especially if you're Garrett Riley and you're not going to be here next year, I mean, you got to let it all out, right? Unload the clip, as they say.
Next, we'll go to Cole Bryson from the fan.
What a loser, by the way.
Who let him in?
He stinks. Can't even get his mic to work. Listen.
Hey, Coach, can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, I got you.
Sorry about that. You talked a minute ago about musical chairs with some of the guys who are at practice and who aren't at practice. How much of a challenge is it when you talk about implementing a game plan for an opponent when you don't have a consistent cast of characters on the field at practice?
That's always a challenge. Now, the good thing is we've had several weeks to kind of, really get ready and go through it and plan and have some plan Bs and things of that nature when you're getting ready for a bowl game.
Too soon.
Obviously, if this was a case from a week to week in a regular season, it'd be much more challenging. But, time's been on our side a little bit to have the best plan and to figure it out.
So basically, I just wonder, Diesel, from the standpoint of, hey, you just said a minute ago you have all this rotation. How in the world do you get together? Do you put together a consistent game plan? I think that's a challenge. But to his point, they have time. They've got, 3 weeks to prepare for this bowl, which is a lot of time in a meaningless bowl game to prepare. So I guess time, like you said, is on a side there.
I would ask, is it meaningless if you lose? Like, do you want? Are you okay with losing this game? Are you okay with finishing your season on a loss? And if the answer is no, then it's not a meaningless bowl game. It may be less meaningful, but it is not meaningless. And to what he said there about players, thank God it's not a week-to-week thing where you have to deal with that during the regular season. Who knows, man? That's just a lawsuit away to be able to say, I'm just going to exit. I could play the first 3 games as a member of this team, and then I can just up and leave and go where I want to go for the rest of the season. It feels like that is coming down the pipe, man, and that's a scary time.
Scary.
So we'll get some answers, Cole. It's always good to get answers. We'll talk to Bill Bender of the Sporting News next on the Fan Upstate.
2,
Wire to
1.
Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Oh, I love this song, Cole. It's one of my favorites. I listen to it every day. You know, it's right
That's
in
why
between.
I played it.
Yeah, like I listen to Zeppelin, Metallica, and this, of course, all the time.
Do you even know the name of it?
Sounds like Mariah.
It is Ariana. Get it right.
I'm
Ariana Grande.
I'm way
Come
off.
on.
Let's get out of this tailspin and talk to Bill Bender of The Sporting News. Welcome into the show, Bill. A little self-scouting to start our conversation today. Would people say that you are a difficult person to shop for?
Oh, I don't think so. I don't require much. So like,
same.
You know, and everything I use. So, you know, rather the typical socks or whatever, you know, I don't ask for much for Christmas. I'd rather spend on other people, and I don't really. I mean, I'll put it to you this way: the Remington Trophy. Mark Panko sent me a couple swag items from the Remington a couple weeks ago, and I don't think I've taken the shorts off. So like over 2 weeks, because they're super comfortable, but you know, so I don't require a lot of possessions, I suppose.
I'm a fan of Remington as well, Bill. Just saying 12 gauges, 16 gauge, 10, whatever you want it to be. I love Remington. I'm with you on that, just in case you ever, you know, don't know what to do with your money. Hey, let me get your opinion on what happened Friday here locally. We'll start locally and then touch on everything else college football related, Bill. But South Carolina, Shane Beamer hires 3 assistant coaches, 1 offensive line, 1 running back, and 1 offensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator got most of the attention Friday in the press conference, being Kendall Briles and the connection with AD Jeremiah Donati that he had from his time at TCU. From a national standpoint, what's the perception on Kendall Briles and the Kendall Briles hire at South Carolina?
Another chance to prove it. I mean, he's been around, obviously, and coached in several spots, that up-tempo offense. I think it'll work with Lenora Sellers, you know, and get that offense going a little bit because, as you guys know, and I don't need to back this up, the offense definitely struggled this year in a lot of spots. So, you know, you bring in Briles, has experience, like I said, in a multitude of places. I even remember him back at Baylor. Those were some fun teams to watch then. So, yeah, I mean, you always approach coordinators. You won't know till you know, but certainly a message that they're going to try and fix that offense, and that's a good thing.
Bill, last time we spoke to you, the news had just started to break on Sharon Moore in Michigan, and got so much information has come out since then. Some of it true, some of it false. How, like, what's your process in sifting through, you know, rumors like OnlyFans model says he was texting me at halftime of big games?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Some of that you just, as soon as it's printed, people assume it's true, which is unfortunate. Now, you know, there's just a lot of, I knew, like when we spoke last week versus now, that as more details came out and you see the shock value of Sharon Moore in a jumpsuit, in an arraignment, the details would be salacious, and they have been. So, you know, for Michigan, I think they're almost out of that part of the news cycle, because I don't know what potential punishment Sharon Moore might face in court. But, you know, for Michigan, I think it seems like most of the focus has shifted towards, okay, who's the next coach going to be? And that remains a wide open question that I still think Kalen DeBoer and Kenny Dillingham are your top 2 answers right now.
We're talking to Bill Bender of The Sporting News. I want to ask you, Bill, the same question that Rich Eisen, who's on from 12 to 3 in our station, they were having this conversation about Michigan. In your mind, given all that's going on in the past few weeks with Sharon Moore, is there now an asterisk beside Michigan, or is it just a Band-Aid that can be healed, a scar, I guess, that can be healed and touched up with some good makeup?
I mean, there's no asterisk because that's the NCAA's job. There's a stain, you know, and I've kind of been using the analogy that it feels a little bit like the end of one of those college football documentaries where, whether it was NC State and survive in advance, or the U or SMU, where it's like there's that montage of things that went wrong, and after championships, that tends to happen at some places, and this is that part for Michigan. Theirs is certainly more bizarre than most. I mean, you take it back to Valvano, and God bless him. The end of his era there wasn't great, right? Like they had NCAA punishment and that kind of thing, and some scandal there. But we don't remember any of that. We'll always remember Lorenzo Charles and that dunk, and as we should. With Michigan, I don't know. It's hard to answer. Like, what will it feel like 15 years from now? Are you going to remember? I have a feeling we're going to remember Connor Stalions and Sharon Moore more than J.J. McCarthy and Blake Corum winning the national title against Washington.
Bill, I tuned in for a little bit of last night's Jacksonville State and Troy bowl game, and you could tell, even though it wasn't a packed stadium, it was 65, 70% full. And those two teams, given the fact that they are equal-sized schools, equal-sized programs, in-state rivalry, playing in their home state, it felt like a big deal game to them, and the energy was there inside the stadium, even though it wasn't packed. Do you think that is a model that could sort of rejuvenate a bowl season that's gotten fairly stale when it's, the third place ACC team versus the second place Conference USA team played 1,000 miles away from both of these campuses? Doesn't it just make sense to kind of wipe the slate of automatic tie-ins and teams that don't know anything about each other or don't care anything about each other in, quote unquote, exotic cities that fans can't drive to?
Yeah, I guess, but I don't. It's a complicated answer. I always fall back on my go-to, which is Bulls mean something different to everybody. It's going to mean a lot to Delaware, Missouri State. It means a lot to places El Paso, Birmingham Bowl, etc. I mean, I went to Belk Bowl a couple times when I lived in Charlotte, and I loved before it was the Mayo Bowl, just to get the T-shirt and watch some football. It was football's football, and I love what you said about last night's game. I think part of it with last night's game is those teams are good. They both played for a conference championship. They have exciting players. Tonight we'll see. I mean, the promo before I came on your show here said both quarterbacks in this Cure Bowl, I believe, between South Florida and Old Dominion opted out. So it's hard to get excited for games like that. I think part of it is if the players were contracted to play in the bowl games, unless they were injured, maybe you could have that happen. But some of these bowl games will be really fun, others not so much, right? And I think that's just the price we pay for it. But I also went to a MAC school, as we've talked about on here at length, and I remember my junior year, it was a big deal that the MAC got a second bowl bid because it only had one over the years. It was a huge deal then. Now they have 5 or 6, so I understand where you're coming from.
Bill, a strange one for you. We were having a conversation back in the very first segment of the show at 3 o'clock about last night's Clemson, South Carolina basketball game. As you know, those two rivals here in the state, and with us being in Greenville, half our audience is Clemson. It feels like half the audience is South Carolina. I tossed around the idea, and I've said it for a few years now, that to get this basketball game to live up to the same height that it has on Saturdays during the fall, they need to move this basketball game to the night before the football game. So it's a Friday night basketball game, Clemson, South Carolina, wherever city, whatever city the football game's in the next day. And then you wake up the next day and you have the football game. A lot of people already in attendance, obviously, in that town, because last night's game on a Tuesday wasn't the best crowd, wasn't the best environment. From your knowledge, are there any programs, schools across the country that do anything similar to that try to tie into sports?
I think Ohio State and Michigan played in something a couple years ago the night before, and it might have been like an early Big Ten weekend. It was something like that. Or even if they didn't play, you would have like Ohio State would play a basketball game on Friday night, and then you would start to hear the beat Michigan, stuff like that, to get people going. But if you have a good opponent in there, that's a novel idea and not a bad one at all, where you could enjoy that rivalry, because it's a little bit different in basketball and football with the being in different conferences. But you're onto something there. You could get a lot of people excited. I don't know. It depends on how diehard the basketball fans are, though. Like certain schools, I feel like South Carolina and Clemson, they're definitely football first, or maybe even like this basketball. You're going to have to forgive me for asking this question. I'm not trying to offend anybody. Is basketball behind baseball at those schools?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I'm just making sure.
Bill, Eli Drinkwitz spoke at length about tampering in his program and in rosters, and he's said that he's got players' dads calling him saying, hey, little Johnny has got offers from X, Y, and Z program. You know, to my knowledge, nobody has sued and won a case that would legitimize tampering. So why, if everybody knows that they're doing it, and if everybody's doing it, why can't there be any form of enforcement on tampering?
Because they need to levy penalties like the NFL does. The NFL would take away draft picks. There's less of that goes on, you know. I'm sure there still is some, obviously. You know, you see like subtle tweets where come play with me, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's rampant. And so, you know, and these coaches admit it without even admitting it. I remember the clip a couple of years ago when Saban was talking about, we tried to get Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo to Alabama. And I'm like, well, how'd you do that when he was at Toledo? You know what I mean? So obviously those things are going on in a rampant fashion. And like you said, they're not really policed. So why wouldn't you do it?
Bill, why would Kalen DeBoer leave Alabama to go to Michigan?
Better fit. And is it a better job? No, not right now. It can be. It's not right now. Is it a better fit for Kalen DeBoer? Possibly. Because, I mean, again, you're talking about a guy that back in September, we were writing stories about, are they going to fire him after the Florida State game?
Yeah.
You know, he's always going to be in the shadow of Nick Saban. If you go to Michigan now, one, you're not in Harbaugh's shadow because they're trying to get out from that entire era. Two, you probably got a little bit of a grace period for this first year because you're trying to pick up the pieces of one of the most bizarre episodes in college football history with Sharon Moore. And then three, I just think I've been around him a little bit. He's from the Dakotas, you know. He's got that kind of northern vibe to him. That's no disrespect to anybody in Alabama.
He's not redneck enough.
Well, I'm from Southeast Ohio, so I got enough in me. But you get what I'm saying? Like, it's different than it's just a little bit. I just think the pressure of coaching behind Saban. Yeah. Now, when you talk to people, though, that are around that, they like Kalen there. And I think Kalen likes it there. And I do see him staying unless something drastic happens because – he just doesn't seem like a 2 years out and bail guy because it's not like he failed at Alabama this year. They are in the playoff. They did play for an SEC championship. And, you know, what if they win on Friday? Everybody's going to love Kalen DeBoer. Matt Hayes, my old colleague at Sporting News, now with USA Today, had a great column about that today. You should go read.
Okay.
Bill, why not Brian Kelly? I mean, Kalen DeBoer has already flat out said, I'm not interested in other jobs. Kenny Dillingham has said he's not interested in other jobs. Brian Kelly seemed like he stated fairly publicly that he's like, hey, guys, call me, not Michigan specifically, but when he said that LSU not making a decision on whether or not he was fired for cause is hampering his ability to seek other employment. I mean, here's a guy that's won close to 75% of his games, a winning percentage that any major program would love to have. He hasn't been involved, as far as I know, in any major scandals, which – by God, Michigan could use right now. I mean, I know he's a little bit of a prickly guy. He's not the nicest person in college football, but here's a guy that seems tailor-made for a program like that. Why is the obvious choice not getting more consideration?
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. And some others do, but I'm like, he's proven at minimum that he can run a major program with huge expectations at a competent level, which he did at Notre Dame, especially toward the end. And some critics would say, well, he made the schedule easier. Well, they still won the games, and they still went to the college football playoff. And, yeah, they fell short against Alabama, but you know what? Notre Dame hasn't won a national title since 1988, so I don't really want to hear it. And then two, He was fine at LSU until this year. This year kind of bottomed out a little bit, in fairness. That was just that the offense wasn't very good. I think Nussmeier was hurt. The running back got hurt, but this was a team that had a really nasty defense and good football players. So I think, he could. Could he run the show at Michigan and win 9 or 10 games a year? Absolutely.
Bill, our time with you is dwindling down when it comes to the college football season, and you joining us every Wednesday at this time, and we've been so appreciative of that. But I want to know from Bill Bender of These Sporting News, you live up in the Ohio area. I can tell you Sundays here look like Diesel rooting for the Carolina Panthers on a drastic roller coaster ride. Me getting kicked into you-know-whats every Sunday, being a miserable diehard Dallas Cowboy fan. What do Sundays look like for Bill Bender?
I'm a Packers fan, so we had a really rough Sunday.
Yeah, Micah
Sunday.
Parsons
and Micah, and and I am married to a Cowboys fan, so I don't empathize with you much. I'm sorry. Yes. I grew up in the 1990s. I tell her the same thing every Sunday. I was like, I'm not, but like that hatred has softened, and I will say, the Jerry Jones documentary was amazing on Netflix. It was awesome to watch. I could watch that 3 times over. But yeah, we watched NFL, and this Sunday we'll get in, I'm out at youth sports stuff with my kids and enjoy all that. And, it's funny. I had last Saturday, it was kind of off, but I do every year. And I think we talked about it a little bit. I sit and watch Army Navy with my son, and we enjoy it and love it. And the passion that those guys played with. And Blake Horvath's a local kid, the Navy quarterback. So we really enjoyed watching him play hard and help the midshipmen come up with a victory. I always tell people it's hard to root for somebody in that game because, I had some high school teammates that were in the Army. And then, my grandfather and some others were in the Navy. So I just root for both. That's the easy way out.
Yeah. Bill, why is it that a guy from southeastern Ohio isn't either a Bengals or a Browns fan? I understand why you wouldn't want to be a Browns fan. They've been terrible for a long time. But, come on, at least the Bengals had good-looking uniforms when you were a kid.
That's funny. My dad's a Packers fan. And growing up, believe it or not, when I was in, 3rd through 6th grade, basically 1st through 6th grade, that was the Packers were not very good, in the 80s. And then when they get Brett Favre, it kind of changed. So, and then when I was growing up in that grade school years, my buddies, the Bengals and Browns were actually good at the same time in the 80s. So I was getting picked on in grade school. So for the last 30 plus years with my best friends, I have not let them forget that no, you were good for 6 years. I get the rest of them.
I love it. And then Bill, last one for you, upset pick post Christmas. You got one?
So it's got to be a bowl game after Christmas.
That's right. Correct.
Oh crap! I don't know if I have one offhand. Well, no. If it's the Reliquas Bowl, right? So is Vandy dog in that one or favored?
Vandy is. Let's see. I'm looking at ESPN.com. Diesel might have it quicker than I do. No, Vandy, we talked about this one the other day because I said if their quarterback, if Pavia was out, I would be interested in that game. But I believe Vandy's favored.
Vandy's favored by 5.5.
Iowa in an upset.
Okay.
I'll take Iowa. That'll be my upset pick for the bowl game because Kirk Ferentz is good for those. I don't know if the line will shift. It's my understanding Pavia will play. So, and I think a lot of people are going to watch that based on last weekend. But give me Iowa and their defense, and they make it happen in a close one.
I like it.
Love it.
Bill, you're the best. We appreciate you, man. We'll talk to you not next week because next week is Christmas Eve, but very soon.
Anytime. Thanks for having me on, guys. Have a great Christmas. I'll talk to you after that, and we'll go from there.
Bill Bender, These Sporting News. He's the absolute best. I'm telling you, good stuff from Bill Diesel. And you said Vandy, would you say they were a 7-point favorite?
5.5 point favorites.
Oh, 5.5.
Yeah.
Okay. And by the way, Old Dominion leads South Florida right now 7-3 in the Staff DNA Cure Bowl. It's almost the end of the first quarter, Diesel, but I took Old Dominion in this one. They're the underdogs. You said it, bowl season. You never know what's going to happen in bowl season.
Well, besides the name, Staff DNA, it used to be like Capital One Cure Bowl or something. And for a Sunbelt school, that's the one you wanted to go to because the payout was the highest, and it's in Orlando. You didn't have to go to Nowheresville, Alabama, or Mobile. So you wanted to go to the Cure Bowl, but man, now that is a terrible name for a bowl game.
Real quick, before we run to a break, Will wants to comment and get in at 844-FAN phone. What's up, Will?
One of my good buddies always listens to y'all. It's his birthday. Can I sing happy birthday to him?
Yes, you can sing happy birthday. As long as it's appropriate and no curse words.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Caleb Melton. Happy birthday to you.
That was the worst happy birthday I think I've ever heard in my entire life.
You got the giggles. Will got the giggles mid-song.
That was awful. I mean, that was the worst happy birthday I've ever heard.
How about you sing it, Cole?
I could do a lot better than that. Diesel, I have a question, though. We've talked about this. You've talked about it. We've brought it up with Bill Bender. This entire college football system, the playoff, you complain, we all complain. But I have a question for you. Would you trade it in? I'll explain next.
Fan phone. This is Wire to Wire with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
So, Diesel, there's been a lot of complaining about the college football playoff. And in this very short segment, I want to ask a question to the Tolos out there at 844-326-3663. I've complained. We've all complained about something, whether it's the G5 teams getting in, whether it's, Notre Dame being left out, something we've complained about. I want to know, though, from the Tolos that have complained, Diesel, that have made their voice heard, would you trade it in? All of it right now, the college football playoff, we've talked about how it has absolutely killed bowl season, right? Diesel, would the college football fans in the upstate listening trade it in to go back to the BCS?
Yes.
You get your traditional bowl games back. Would you trade it in?
Yes. Yeah,
really? That was a quick yes.
Yeah, it's not even a thought process. I mean, it's so convoluted. It's so made for TV. It's so fake. It's so overhyped. It's, it's a 5-week production every Tuesday night for a month and a half. I'm over it. I don't like it. And people have complained about it from the moment it came into being. And somehow guys like Joel Klatt are like, yeah, we want more of that. We want to apply that to basketball.
Wow. I didn't know where you were going to stand on that. I didn't know if you were going to be Team BCS. I know you're an analytics data kind of guy, but I didn't know where you'd stand. You know what? I think it's thought-provoking. I will tell you this, Diesel. I miss the days where bowl games mean something, right? I miss the days where bowl games were revered, and I've said it multiple times. I grew up going to big-time bowl games, and guess what? They don't mean anything anymore. I'm watching the Staff DNA Cure Bowl on TV right now, and Diesel, I think there's more people in the Ingles markets that you're at than there are in this stadium right now. No lie.
Yeah.
Nobody's there.
Bowl season has expanded way over its own belt, right? It's time to shrink and simplify. If you get rid of 5 bowls, let the 4 of them sponsor a quarter of a bowl. I don't care. I don't need to see the 4th best team in the MAC play the 5th best team in the Sun Belt because they didn't have good seasons. If you have a 9, 10, 11 win season, you deserve to play one more time.
Yeah.
But there's no reason why the 5th best team that went 7-5 or 6-6 should be sniffing a postseason. You put better teams in bowl games, and bowl games will start feeling like better games again.
Yeah, hopefully
to me,
so.
It's just that simple. When we come back, Cole, you heard me allude to it, the audio of Eli Drinkwitz, head football coach of the Missouri Tigers, scathing rebuke of what's going on right now with tampering. We'll play audio from him. I've got some great audio as well from Fran Brown, from Mike Elko, from Pete Golding, and some audio from around the NFL as well. That's next.
upstate.
Texter says, I want to go back as well, but with NIL and the transfer portal, it still wouldn't matter. Talking about bowl season, if you could go backwards, Cole, back to the old BCS system, like, I mean, we're already in a post NIL and post transfer portal world. There is no putting all of that toothpaste back in the tube. You know, players used to want to play just because they had pride and they would want to see the season finish, but they also knew that there was a nice little swag bag gift package coming their way, but they don't need those things anymore, right? I mean, giving a guy a $500 Amazon gift card and a washer dryer and a watch or some headphones, that doesn't appeal to these athletes anymore because they all have the money to go out and buy exactly what they want.
And you know what? I was going to say real quick on that. That's why I appreciated what Blake Miller said today for Clemson, a guy who spoke to the media and said, look, he was asked about that. Hey, why did you decide not to opt out? And Blake Miller said, look, I'm old school. When I start something, I want to finish it. I could have opted out. I'm going to be playing in the NFL. I'm summarizing, obviously. But he said, Diesel, when I start something, I want to finish. And I believe that that's what I'm supposed to do. And man, do I miss players like that with that kind of attitude and mindset.
How do you re-spark that kind of pride and tenacity in today's modern athlete? It's really difficult. I mean, if incentivizing them with money isn't even enough, even if you put $1 million prize on the line in some of the biggest bowl games, some of them would say, a share of $1 million? I got that sitting in my bank account right now. I don't need that. I'm just going to go off to the NFL. You joked yesterday, I think you said, why not give them some cryptocurrency? Heck, why not give them shares in their program as if their program was a company? You get a share of that. And now it gives you a small piece of ownership in your program going forward. I don't know what the answer is. And we're going to play some audio here, Cole. I'm going to go actually a little bit out of order, starting with clip number 3. Pete Golding, the brand new head football coach at Ole Miss, talks about exactly that. Here's Pete.
All the exterior factors, in my opinion, of what college football used to use was the NFL. And so you had elite players that wanted to get to NFL because they wanted that payday. Well, they've already got it now. All right, so they've got nice cars. They're in nice condos. Some are living in the country club by me, right? They've already got what you used to have to work hard to, right? They have. And so at the end of the day, if there's not that interior motivation to want to compete and want to be the best player at my position and want to be the best team in the country, to want to leave a legacy, right, for this team that's never been done here before, right, then you're going to fall short. And I think that's what gets lost in the recruiting process when you just go back to the tape and you're watching the tape. Like, does the guy love football or does he love what football can do for them?
You know, to me, that goes back to, the conversation we had about DJ Lagway the other day and why he didn't gel very well with John Summerall, the incoming head coach at Florida. They questioned his work ethic. They questioned his desire. And is that the only thing these coaches have left now? Like, we're going to question your competitiveness, because how many times have we heard that players don't really want to work all that hard anymore? They've already been given a whole lot of cash. So why would you work that much harder? It's not like they can take it away. And if somebody tries to take it away, you just say, okay, I'll take my ball somewhere else. I'll go play somewhere else next year. They'll give me the money. It's fine.
No, Pete Golding hit the nail on the head. He did. It used to be the NFL was the stepping stone, right? The dream that everybody was chasing. And boy, I mean, he jokes about it. We laugh, but the comment about the country club, like, it's legit. They're making millions. So, it is where we are. And you said it. There's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube. It's unfortunate, though.
Yeah, and when you got a player showing up in a Mercedes and he's being coached by a guy rolling up in a beat-up Toyota because he's a position coach and he doesn't have all that much money, who's he going to listen to? Is he going to listen to the guy that he doesn't respect because he doesn't have all the same things that he has? We got a great piece of audio. This is a little bit of a longer piece of audio, but I think it's really rich. And we're going to probably break it in half here. But here's Eli Drinkwitz, head football coach at Missouri, talking about the tampering that he doesn't think is going on in college football. He knows that it's going on in college football. Here's Coach Drink.
How much do you get in contact with your peers about their perception of what's going on there, and is it coach talk, or do you just stay in your silo on it?
No, there's a lot of coaches discussing it and frustrated, in my opinion. And I understand the national sentiment because of the salary ranges of head coaches that it feels like we're complaining, but we're really not. We're trying to sound warning bells, and that's that's what I believe we're all trying to do, is that there's a warning that the system that we're in is really sick right now, and college football is sick, and not in a. It's just there's showing signs of this thing really cracking moving forward, and we need to get something under control. And the SCORE Act was something that it looked like it was going to be a step in a direction. There is no perfect solution, but we have to get some sort of steps moving in that direction. I think we're all weighted with, is it bated breath, the saying, trying to wait on what's going to happen with this fifth-year lawsuit in Nashville, where you could have a flurry of fifth-year guys now being eligible, and that would just throw a completely new wrinkle in the system. Tampering is at, the highest levels. There is no such thing as tampering. It's just because there's nobody that's been punished for tampering. And so everybody on my roster is being called. I had a dad call me and say that, and I called the head coaches at their schools, that this school and this school and this school called, and they are offering this much money. And, it's you're putting a lot of pressure on young men. We're paying them as 1099 employees a lot of money. We're not offering any type of retirement. We're not offering any type of health benefits. And we've worked around the system and then tried to create that as the system, instead of creating a functioning way of moving forward and making sure that it works for everybody. And whether that's collective bargaining, whether that's making them employees, whether that's antitrust legislation that protects everybody, the commissioner or the SEC or the NCAA from lawsuits, something needs to be done. Because, again, TV viewership may be at an all-time high, and that's awesome. And gambling on sports may be at an all-time high, and that's great. I got no problem with that. But what about the well-being of the student athlete? What about graduation rates? What about tax implications? What about handling and understanding financial literacy? What is their life going to look like after 5 years of college athletics? Is it going to be better because they participated in college athletics, or could they be in a tougher situation? And, that a lot of us got into college athletics because we wanted to help young men grow and develop. And I think we're still doing that mission, but it's getting really hard because you used to talk about, Coach Saban used to talk about all the time, creating value for yourself. And when he talked about it, he wasn't just talking about value for the NFL. He was talking about creating value for yourself with a college degree. And we've lost that aspect of it. And these guys are going to create tremendous value for themselves playing the game of football. And that's awesome. And I love that these guys are getting paid. I love that last week these guys with their own money went out and bought gifts for Coyote Hill. I love that. That's awesome. But my job also is to look at them in 3 or 4 years down the road, and how many of them are in a better position because they played football if they've transferred 4 times. And that's just the system that we've created. Not all freedom is good freedom.
Wow. Not all freedom is good freedom.
Yeah.
How about that bomb drop? You like that? I think he's on the money, isn't he?
A system in which there is total freedom, where anyone can do literally anything they want to do, Cole, is chaos. When there are no, there's never been a country that has ever existed and functioned properly with no laws whatsoever. It will always descend into chaos. It will always descend into madness, and the programs with the most money and the most resources will always be the biggest aggressors in a sport. And what I liked about what he had to say there, Cole, is the system we have is that there is no system. The system is there is no system, and you can't run a sport that way. We've created a system of workarounds that are conflicting with what the mission of the sport should be. And anytime you look at a comment section, when any coach steps up and speaks his opinion about NIL and the portal, you always get the same answer. It is inevitable. It'll always be the top answer. Well, coaches can up and move. Coaches are making a lot of money. Yeah, you know why they're making a lot of money? Because it took them a long time to get to that point. Some achieve it relatively young, and that's because they show an extreme aptitude that others just don't have. But there's a lot of coaches, Cole, and you know this well. I don't have to tell you. There's a lot of coaches that grind and grind and grind for years and years, and they pick up and move their families every season, not because they want to, but because they have to, because that's the nature of the sport. Everybody's trying to take a next step up in their career, or every coach is trying to improve the staff that they have. So you got to get rid of somebody who you may like as a person, who's got a family, who's got kids, but they've earned the money that they're making by the amount of work that they've put into their careers up to this point. But with college students, we're giving them all the money before they've earned a damn thing.
And Diesel, by the way, you mentioned earlier in the show that in bowl games, you wanted coaches and players and teams to pull out all the stops, right? Pull out all the stops. South Florida, Old Dominion, if you're watching this game right now, you would love it. South Florida with back-to-back trick plays, and they hit on the second one and score. It's now 10-7 South Florida. Actually, a really good football game happening right now. 7:24 to go first half. Let me comment on what Drink said there. Again, I agree, but I think my question, Diesel, to him, to you, to everyone is, okay, well, here's where we are. Going back to what I did in the very first segment of the show, set the table. We're setting the table, and we all know college sports, they need a savior, right? They need a fixin'. But here's the problem. Eli Drinkwitz knows it. He's talked about it. Lane Kiffin's talked about it. Nick Saban had to retire because he didn't like it. Everybody knows that this sport needs repair. Some major Band-Aids, but the number one problem, the number one issue, and even Kirk Herbstreit was talking about this on his podcast the other day, Diesel, with, the leadership of the NCAA. The problem is we can talk about it until we're blue in the face. We can talk about it for another 5 years. Nothing's going to change. There's no leadership. And that's why, like, the conversations that Rich Eisen was having today with his guys on his show, and I thought it was actually a pretty good, valid conversation. I don't know if a caller started it or if they brought it up, Diesel, but somebody asked the question. They said, you explain to me why college football is better than NFL. Because for all this time, we always heard how college was way better than NFL, way better, way better. You explain to me how it's better. Again, there's nobody that stepped in that's going to step in and make college sports great again. That's my biggest fear.
Yeah, we're in a Mexican standoff of who can step in and who can actually do something about it. And the people who can do something about it refuse to do something about it. I'm talking about government. They refuse to do something. They didn't say, well, there's a lot of people in government who love football and who want it to get fixed. And they'll still say, oh, well, we're not willing to actually put legislation down on this. So I'm with you, man. It's a problem without a savior for the foreseeable future. And I don't know who that's going to be. I mean, could an influential voice step in and say, here's what we should do? Yeah, Nick Saban could step in and say, here's what we should do. But without the authority to actually do something, and not have it be struck down in court every decision they make, nothing's going to change. So you have to have a legal backing upon which that a commissioner or a tribunal or whatever system you want to set up, they can actually set rules and enforce those rules. Until somebody gets a spine and will actually do something about it, nothing's going to change. Speaking of the transfer portal, Cole, here's a fantastic piece of audio from a hot up-and-coming young coach, Fran Brown. He had something to say about all these guys trading teams back and forth that I think a lot of the guys who are entering the transfer portal, they don't want to admit, but it's probably true.
See, what I'm not going to do is this. All we're doing is swapping twos. So that's why I wanted to take this class, because everybody's twos are upset, so they all want to leave because they're twos. So guys are just swapping twos right now, swapping different ones. So for me, I'm not trying to swap spit. Right? I'm going to stick with my guys and develop our guys and stick to this model, because I truly believe that it's going to slow down after a lot of guys. There's going to be some good players that don't end up going where they want, or some people that's trying to chase the quick buck real fast, and then it end up not working out to the best of what you wanted. So I'm going to stick to this, and then we'll still hit the portal to get some key pieces that we need, right?
Kind of sounds like Dabo, right?
A little bit, doesn't he? It sounds a lot like Dabo. But then again, he also said, I'm not swapping players, but I will get in the portal and get some players. So that's an interesting one. Here's a great
real quick on that. Like, I get it, but, hoping it changes is the way you lose your job. Like, I'm sorry. I don't like the way we're doing things either. But if I'm a coach and Diesel, I'm getting paid to go win, I don't care what I like and what I dislike.
Yeah.
If my boss wants me to talk about something, hey, he's writing the check, I'm going to talk about it. You know what I mean?
Back to what we were just saying about, having somebody with the authority to do something about it. How many coaches have we heard over the past 2 years say the system is broken and it needs to be fixed? But they're all just sort of operating and speaking to the media independently. Like, there's got to be some kind of a coaches association that they can sort of collectively come together and push for more change, rather than just saying it in a one-off press conference that gets people talking about it for about 36 hours and then it's gone. Maybe there needs to be more cohesive unionization or so speak of power from coaches.
And by the way, Dee's a little bit of breaking news from Pete Thamel, Texas A&M running back. The notification just went away. Texas A&M tailback Le'Veon Moss is expected to be questionable for Saturday's college football game against Miami. So that's big news to follow as well.
Here we go, Cole, another piece of audio from college football, and probably the last one we'll have a chance to get to. Mike Elko, you just talked about his team on how he's going to reset and rebound heading into that college football playoff matchup against Miami.
I think we feel like we left a lot out there, both sides of the ball in that game. Obviously, hats off to them because they did what they had to do to win. But, when we went back and watched the tape, I think we saw a lot of self-inflicted wounds that, need to be addressed. And I think sometimes the rude awakening of a loss is the right way to do that. Now, it stings how it happened week 12 with everything on the line against your rival. But sometimes it does. It takes a loss to just kind of tighten everything back up. And I think that's kind of been the reaction and response. I think, we had gotten a little loose and gotten away with some things, the South Carolina game for sure. And, then to not get the result that we wanted, I think everything kind of refocuses. And I think that's what we need going into the playoffs.
He's right. Ultimately, they could here's what he didn't say. And he's right. But ultimately, Diesel, he was in a place where they could afford that loss. Yeah. A lot of teams might not have been able to afford that loss. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
maybe on the outside.
We hear about, they debate good losses, bad victories, whatever in the college football playoff selection shows. But I think for Texas A&M, that one could prove to be a good loss because it wakes you up. Like you said, they were getting a little sloppy. They were getting a little loose the last couple of weeks. And that you would have thought that the South Carolina game would have woken them up. I guess it wasn't enough. You had to lose a game.
Bill Bender, The Sporting News, next.